Boston Uprising just took the Dallas Fuel down with a 4-0 victory. And that's the best of Boston Uprising. They've looked the entire stage. They're definitely getting their footing back with that one. All right, up next, we have the Seoul Dynasty going up against NYXL. Give me a second. It's already getting hot in here because this one's getting ready to be fuego. This is going to be a hot match right here. Now, guys, these two teams, they have a decorated history that goes all the way back to Apex. And a lot of people are picking these two teams to be in the Stage 2 stage finals. So we can kind of get a look at what that looks like right now. You guys ready for this? Yeah? Yeah? Well, let's not waste any more time, ladies and gentlemen, and get this thing rolling.
Blizzard Arena, we got a primetime matchup for you right now. Make some noise, everybody. I'm your host once again. You're stuck with Puckett all day, but I brought in some friends. We got Sideshow, Crumbs, and Zoe at the desk. And this is the moment we've all been looking forward to since the show ended on Saturday. It's been talk. New York, Seoul, it happens here in week 4.
And you know what makes it even juicier? The fact that we haven't seen these two teams all week long. It's the first day. Everything is hidden, so they have to prepare specifically for each other, which makes it that much more fun.
Before we jump into the match, we got to remind you the full schedule for the day. This is just match 2 of 3 earlier. We saw it was Boston with the 4 over Dallas. Later, we see the Fusion take on the Dragons. But it's time to get this party started. New York versus Seoul kicks off right now.
It's go time! Oh, Fleta! Tonak is indestructible. This is unbelievable. They just can't kill this guy. That's one tick already for Seoul Dynasty.
NYXL have positioning. That's a huge turnaround.
Seoul Dynasty coming up with the kills.
Munchkin!
New York has been in control of this point. They are now in control of the fight. Save the Obi.
Just mowing them down. It's going to be a barrage for Fleta. Surprise, surprise!
It's probably the best match of the week, but we have to remember back. When we were watching Stage 1, there was a point we all thought Seoul, best team in the league. New York XL, possibly a challenger. It was New York that walked away with that win.
Yes, at the beginning of Stage 1, Seoul went on a massive streak. They were unbeaten at the beginning, very similar to the fact that the way that they are right now. And it was NYXL that ended up taking them down 3-2 and set Seoul on a downward path that ended with them missing out on that Stage 1 playoffs. And crucially, NYXL were able to win both control maps for that series.
Exactly, and when you're faced up against a close matchup, your control is inevitable. You're going to have 2 out of the 3 maps be control, so if you can guarantee yourself taking those games, statistically, you're already ahead when it comes to getting the win.
All right, both teams have a lot of pressure come in, right? It's not just a Stage 2 matchup. You're not looking for revenge only if you're Seoul, but this is also number 1 versus number 2 out of our 12 teams in the overall standing. So how is Seoul feeling coming into this matchup, knowing they're taking on the top dogs in the NYXL?
You know, when I talked to both of those teams earlier this week, they had nothing but respect for each other. And one thing both teams mentioned was the coaching staff from the other side. Seoul did talk about Pavane and how long he's been with the team, and that he basically said that they're the most systematic, organized, and well-trained team in this whole league. And honestly, their performance is showing nothing but just that. But Seoul also said that despite their strength of schedule, and they have a tough schedule this week, they are prepared. They have trained for this match specifically really, really hard, and they are coming here and want to see results.
And we know both of these teams are game planning. As you touched on, Crumbs, it's all about the preparation. The South Korean team's known for the effort that they put in preparing for each other, those specific matchups. When we look at the individual battles, though, what's the most important to look at in this series? Because there's going to be 12 players constantly in action.
I think it's got to be the support duos for both of these teams. Jae-Hong and Toby have long been known for years now as the best support duo in the whole of Overwatch. And now we have a new challenger on the scene, Jonak. This guy used to look up to Ryu Jae-Hong. That's why he picked up Zenyatta. And now he's playing against his idol and is arguably better. When you look at how these guys stack up, Jae-Hong is kind of middle of the pack in almost all of these, apart from deaths. Really good at staying alive, and that's partly due to Toby as well. But Jonak just pumps out that damage. Ridiculous hero damage done and final blows. He is such a fragging machine on Zenyatta.
Crumbs, do you agree? Is Jonak the better Zenyatta to watch today?
I would say he's the better Zenyatta, but remember, these two guys are flex support, so they can go ahead and play all sorts of things. The Bastion, the Maze, the Ana, so it's not just about Zenyatta here, because I'm sure that the Tracers will put a big dent in how much damage they're dealing.
I'm told the players are ready. Los Angeles, are you ready to meet them? Let's find out who is going to be kicking off our first map in this series as we bring out the New York XL. New York, they dropped the very first series in Stage 2 to London, but since then have rattled off 5 straight victories, a 14-2 record overall, and despite losing that Stage 1 championship, they're without a doubt the #1 team when it comes to this regular season.
That stage matchup against London in Stage 2 was because Arc wasn't there, so it went to a 5-game series and they lost, but now he's back in the lineup, challenging for being the best support duo. A lot of people already saying that they are, and this team has been by far the most consistent team in the Overwatch League.
Yes, and they've had to alter their style recently. Sabiolbi has gone way more aggressive. They've been playing against a lot of defensive teams, and they've decided just to go balls to the wall aggression. And now they can kind of dial that back and have Sabiolbi try and play his normal peeling role, or they can stick to the game plan. We'll have to see what they decide to do here, because it puts a lot of pressure on Arc and Jonak to perform.
It did. Arc did mention that in his post-game interview that he and Jonak both have a bit of a struggle to stay alive, but it worked out so far for them. And honestly, when I talked to their coach Pavane about this change in style, he said that they feel very confident on it, given the new meta. And only just last week, he actually told me that since it worked, he will also expect it to work in their next matches. So I'm almost certain they're going to stay with this aggression.
Gotta love this lineup. Keep your eyes on Mono and Meko. They're going to be big tanks in this series. But now it's time to introduce their challenger. On the right side of the stage, let's hear it for the Seoul Dynasty. #2 overall with a 13-3 record, but so far they are the kings of Stage 2. The only team with a perfect 6-0 record.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys, the meta has been favoring them more than any other squad. They said it, and it really shows. You get players like Fleta that are now flexing over to the Sombra. The Tracers are now becoming that much better. Just this team has improved massively from Stage 1, which is crazy to say because they were already just amazing there, barely missed out on playoffs, and now they're definitely gunning for the top.
This is Fleta's time to shine as well. There is no Widowmaker on the other team really to shut him down, because Sabiolbi, we assume, is going to be playing Tracer most of the time. If he's playing Genji, he can get aggressive, and he doesn't have to deal with Sabiolbi trying to peel him off because he's going to be playing aggressive. There should be so much space for Fleta to have a superstar performance. He has to live up to the hype.
When I talked to the team about their focus for this very game, they all agreed that this is going to come down to reactionary playing, quick counters. Because if you watch NYXL playing recently, they have been super quick to make those small adaptations in the previous games. So this is something Seoul has been working on specifically coming into this match.
Sabiolbi, Libero, Toby, Jaehong, Zumba, Miro. Some of the biggest names in the game all on the stage right now. The action is kicking off in just a few moments. Before we get to it, super fast predictions. Where are we going here? It's #1 versus #2.
Oh, I'm going to have to go against the unbeaten Seoul Dynasty here, I think. NYXL is going to be my choice for this game.
New York again.
I'm going with New York. They have Shanghai later. They can put all the preparation here, whereas Seoul, they have London next.
Seoul had to prep. Oh, yeah, I get the New York pick here. Where are you going?
Yeah, same as Crumbs. Due to the strength of schedule, I have to give the edge to NYXL.
Somewhere Mr. X is smiling very large. New York, his favorite team. I'm going Seoul all day. Let's see how this one plays out. Let's send it to our casters. We got Uber with Mr. X.
The last time these two teams took each other on was back in Stage 1, and it was a 5-map affair, Matt. It went all the way to Lijiang Tower here. It's safe to say we should expect an absolute firecracker of a match.
Yeah, it's an incredibly close series in Stage 1. Seoul Dynasty, they have gotten better since then, right? The meta favors them a bit better. You know, also, you do have more of a stable lineup, right? They're experimenting. You know, Kuki, we saw a lot of him in Stage 1. You know, Bunny with Keed as well. Now you've seen them decide, you know, Munchkin's going to be that player who's going to play alongside Fleta. You've been seeing him put up some great results.
And we have been seeing Seoul mix up their roster a little bit early on this season. In all honesty, 4 out of the last 5 games they've played for Seoul have been up against bottom 4 teams. They've won all of those, but they've won them all 3-1. So they've actually been dropping a couple of maps here to teams that, as the table would dictate, are a little weaker. On the other hand, though, New York have had a very strong run through some top opposition. In Boston, was a 4-0. Houston was a 4-0. Philadelphia Fusion was a 3-1. So in general, New York have had some tougher opposition. This is where the season starts to get really quite tricky, or the stage for Seoul.
And the one game that New York lost was through the London Spitfire in a Game 5, and Mono was playing support.
They were missing Arc at
that
the time.
week. So, and you know Mono is in basically 3 out of the 4 games as the main tank. So it's a huge change that New York has to make in that match earlier in the stage. You know, one where them and London always have very close games. So it'll be New York on offense to kick things off. We'll have Seoul Dynasty on the defensive end. I know something that we've seen from them, you know, that we probably didn't expect to see as much, but you know, I remember Doa talking about Toby, you know, wanting to show everybody, you know, you can play so many different support heroes. Seeing him on Ana, a lot like we see Arc, you know, primarily a Lucio player, play Ana for New York. Toby's been picking up that Ana responsibility when they want to run Ana Zen for Seoul Dynasty.
Defensively here on Hanamura, especially on that first point, Seoul don't value the speed boost that Lucio provides nearly as much as an extra healing capacity as they'll have available. Now they have a bit more of that burst healing. Sometimes that Lucio's Zen composition requires a few seconds for that healing to really tick forth. But ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. This is going to be your match of the stage, surely. Coming right up. It's going to be an NYXL on the attack in the whites. Seoul in the gold and black to defend.
It looks like you're going to see Libero play Hanzo at the beginning here for NYXL. I feel like he's really upped his play over, you know, into stage 2. You know, primarily, you know, playing most of the games. He can play so many different heroes that, you know, Hanzo's a pick that may kind of throw Seoul Dynasty off guard a little bit. If they want to play in that back corner, they have to be very careful. You know, you see the damage boost going on to him as well. Scatter Arrow is such a powerful ability. Could take out one of these supports.
Libero, the original innovator as he was known back in Apex, has been no different here. The Hanzo to open things up. He's not found a lot of openings here, and Seoul are making themselves relatively scarce early on in the piece.
Well, they know they're getting hit with this Sonic Arrow, so they have complete vision on where Seoul Dynasty is setting up, and that's, you know, obviously going to put a lot of pressure on Fleta. Doesn't want to come out right away. It's going to be Jonak, though, with that damage boost, taking out Jaehong, opening things up.
Isn't that going to be a battle of the Titans as this series goes on? The two Zenyatta, the flex support players between these two teams are going to be making waves. So far, though, Mecha's been removed from... That's a beautiful sleep dart! Lovely stuff there. That was from Toby there. Lays it across the point, but Sabiobi, now it's his time to spring forward, and Toby's looking worse for wear. What a way to kick it off. Sabiobi lands a pulse bomb. And the NYXL are going to move forward here. It's just the dregs of Seoul that are left. And NYXL open up with a very strong but ponderous first point take.
It's going to have Libero go back to the spawn. I think we're going to see him go to Soldier 76. So you already have Valkyrie, you have Transcendence as well. You see how far ahead Jonak is compared to Jaehong. Jaehong at 42%. You have that extra support ult. Maybe you can get Libero some nice position up on the high ground. You have a lot of those ults to sustain through some of the dive that maybe Seoul Dynasty brings on through.
In the head-to-head, generally Jaehong has less damage than Jonak, but more healing done. Because obviously when you're charging those right clicks, it's tough to move that Orb of Harmony around. Jonak there knows he needs to force out that Transcendence, but who's really going to benefit from this right now? Manu's been brought back by Arc. There's a lot of value in the resurrect of the Winston, and Mira now's caught a little bit. Pushing back to the point. Had to use a Primal Rage to stay alive, but now again, it's about getting value out of that ultimate that he didn't necessarily want to use.
Yeah, he used the Transcendence to allow Arc to go down into the, you know, pretty much the point and res Mono there, but Mono dies quickly after as he tries to dive into the back with Savior. It'll be Seoul Dynasty holding on. You know, 2 ultimates there used from NYXL, both support ultimates, so you did get a Nano Boost and a Primal Rage out of Seoul, but now they'll have their own Transcendence coming up next. Arc switches over to Lucio, so you know, after using both those support ults, you get over to Lucio, a little bit more speed, try and get into that backline.
Note that both teams had individuals on those rosters that were forced to use ultimates, or just, you know, their hand was, yeah, again, forced in some of those cases. Transcendence. It's going to be pulse bombing, and Arc actually gets taken down by that one. He gets a little bit too close to Meko, who was actually the intended target for Munchkin. So gets a D-suit and the kill on a Lucio for his trouble.
And you know, in the first series between these two teams in stage 1, it was really, you know, Sabiel B who dominated the Tracer battle in terms of, you know, anybody who played for Seoul Dynasty. I think if Munchkin can just play him even, you like your chances in like that Fleta versus Libero battle, right? I mean, with how good Fleta has been throughout stage 1 into stage 2. I feel like you've also seen Miro play quite well as time has gone on too.
We've discussed recently that Saebyeolbi's targets have actually become the supports much more in these games. In the past, they were sort of the enemy tracer, the tanks. Now he likes to hit that back line. Perhaps Munchkin can use that information to try and predict the positioning of Saebyeolbi, especially now as the NYXL comes in for another attack. Fleta has safe positioning and a decent angle to use his tactical visor from, and NYXL have to respect it.
He's trying to get set up here. He doesn't really have a lot of help, right? If he pops this tac visor, they're going to jump right on top of him. You see Mono going right for him, forcing him out of that position. They actually use a nano boost onto Miro as he went up to the high ground, now quickly jumps back down. He's going to go up. That's going to be the self-destruct from Meko. Try to knock it off the edge, but it's going to be Jonak who takes out Fleta at the start of this fight. It's going to be Mono on the point using that Primal Rage, trying to stay up.
Miro now wants to try and rejoin his team, but he's got a big Winston in his way. It's been Manu preventing him from accessing the point, and now Libero on the high ground. Tactical visor, but a beautiful transcendence drawn forth. It didn't save J-Hog, no. Just as he pops out of the trans, he gets taken down, but a Soldier 76 ultimate. And Libero's now feeling comfortable up on this high ground. This is where it gets dangerous against 76ers when he has that position to play from. Soundberry now being brought onto the point, and Toby gets pretty much disintegrated instantly. Fleta's trying to stay alive and use the barriers. Biotic Field dropped down, but he can't get away. Saebyeolbi caught him comfortably, and J-Hog falls before he gets out of spawn. He wants to play Overwatch, but Saebyeolbi has other plans. Munchkin, pre-protection from the defense matrix of Zumba, but he falls down, and Zumba has to get aggressive, use something with his mech. He's going to get knocked out. Now looking low. Self-destruct thrown in over the point, and now we've got 2 ticks already, Matt. Toby and Fleta trying to make their way on in, but it's tough to break this hold.
Yeah, and you have Jonak coming off spawn. He's going to be able to just sit in the doorway, land these discords on these targets. As Saebyeolbi just diving in and out of the point, trying to finish him off. It's Munchkin, though, who takes out Meko as Libero comes back here, as Seoul Dynasty does have that spawn advantage, Mitch.
Saebyeolbi there getting work done. J-Hong falling to him, and Fleta now with a tactical visor coming onto the point. He's smart arc. Jonak's trying to take cover, and he finds Fleta. Again, Jonak delivers the goods. The damage is there, and there's no better target to go for. NYXL hang in there in what was a very back and forth fight. A brief moment, it seemed like Seoul were about to break in the back of J-Hong and Fleta's tactical visor, but no, it was shut down.
So one of the biggest moments there that allows New York to take this point, that was, we take a look from Jonak's POV here at the end, but when Libero uses his tac visor up on the high ground, you had Miro and Munchkin go up there. Miro and Munchkin were able to take out Libero, and then they went so deep all the way back into that mega health pack pretty much by the left-hand staircase. If you're just kind of like looking up at that balcony, they pushed Jonak and Arc all the way into the back. They're able to kill Jonak, but Arc actually speed boost by both of them, gets back to the point, uses sound barrier, so they get a good use of it. It left, 4 players versus Fleta on the point, and then it allows them to just turn and put all that pressure back onto Miro and Munchkin as they come back towards that point as well.
And we saw that clip there, just from Jonak's perspective, staying safe behind the lanterns on the point. It's actually tough to know if you're the one that a Soldier 76 using a tactical visor was locked onto in those cases, so you never know. So you notice him just using slight jiggle peaks. 1 orb to the left, 1 to the right, and he finds the kill. Could have been dangerous. And again, them being forced to take cover from Fleta using that tactical visor could have been instrumental in buying time for Seoul to respawn and continue to stall that.
Well, we've seen what he's done with that tac visor before. If you remember back, I know during stage 1, there was that crazy on Nimbani defense where he got back onto the payload and had the tac visor and took out like 4 people, and they were able to hold on. So you never know with Fleta. There's usually when you're like, okay, it's a 3v1, like this guy's gonna die, there's no way he's gonna come out on top. But there's one person that can do it, it's definitely Fleta. On defense, NYXL, they'll pretty much go with a dive composition outside of, if you're going to have Ana instead of Lucio on the defense, you value, that biotic grenade, the sleep dart, potentially that nano boost for damage mitigation on like a mono, much more.
NYXL now will be on the defense. 2 minutes and 44 remain in their time bank, and now Seoul, well, the writing's on the wall. They at least know what they need to try and manage to reach how fast they need to be.
And we talked a little bit about it, in the pregame, the Jess mentioned, Saebyeolbi versus Seoul Dynasty in stage 1. He was very good. 17-0 there in the first half, 11 final blows. So had himself a pretty good first half on Tracer.
Seoul want to try and wrap a little bit here. Maybe provoke some sort of aggression coming out from Mano here, but no, it's time for Seoul to push it on in. Bubble drop down very quickly on from Mano there. Meko looking worse for wear. He does get himself a bit of a biotic grenade to keep him topped up for the time being. It's going to be back and forth. Notice the health bars. NYXL are low. Mano tried to go Mano with Munchkin by the looks. You can see Munchkin in the top left, managing to pick off the Winston. It's a great start for Seoul.
Yeah, they've already gotten 1 tick. You don't have that biotic grenade to use in terms of the inside heal. You're not able to do The stick comes in, but it's Jonak who falls to the hands of J-Hog before it can go off. As this push from Seoul Dynasty has been fantastic.
A Okay, he can throw bombs around corners. Good to know. Thanks, Jeff. Mecca going to get desuited now, and he will be dispatched. Seoul go for a little bit more of an aggressive approach on the point than NYXL. And from individual ability and those picks, Munchkin having a fantastic fight there. Stunning.
Yeah, and New York had used their nano boost during that fight, so you're going to have Sound Barrier and Transcendence, plus probably attack. You're going to have like 5 ults here for Seoul Dynasty. You have a good chance to kind of steamroll through this.
Yeah, NYXL aren't too far behind in those either. The Transcendence from Jonark's around a corner. Arc, though, is the only issue. Goodbye to grenade thrown down. Flutter can't get away. Mecca to chase him down. Munchkin's still playing around the stairs, but Toby's getting involved now. NYXL, this aggression might get turned against them now. Pulse bomb on the high ground. Jaehong falls. We'll see what Mecco can do. It might just be a self-destruct to buy some time, but the Transcendence is also being thrown into the mix. So Mecco, with a bit more peace of mind, can stand his ground, and Toby is shunted away. Zumba won't escape in his mech. Sabiobi's on cleanup as Miro tried to get away himself, and Zumba would like to wave goodbye to his captors. He does get off the edge.
And I guess the positive here for Seoul Dynasty is that in terms of supports, you don't have a second sustain ultimate on the side of New York, because you just have that nano boost for Arc, you know, your second support ult. It's not something like a Valkyrie or a Sound Barrier where it just kind of keeps everybody topped up and alive. You do have a Sound Barrier still here for Seoul Dynasty. You know, if Libero comes in with that blade, you can pop it, potentially use Attack Visor here as well. So you still have a lot of ultimates to work with here for Seoul.
Both ends without Transcendence, crucially. There we go, a bit of aggression here. Mecca wants to push down the stairs, actually forces a recall out, but now can they get something for this? Pulse bomb looks to have done the job. Mecca's going to go for a self-destruct to try and get his mech back as soon as possible, but he got taken down after he'd been ejected. So now no Diva for the NYXL. Libero falling to a primal rage from Miro, and Seoul are managing this defensive aggression very well from the NYXL. Now Flenner wants his pole position, but again, Mane wants to chase him off the lawn. Now to return back to the point, Pulse from there, that's going to get a good D-suit done on Zunba. He's out, but he might go for a self-destruct himself.
Yeah, it's gonna Miro's going to fall. It's gonna be Seoul Dynasty who's backing out here. So they use their Sound Barrier, they use their Attack Visor and Primal Rage. Didn't get much of anything. It's gonna give a little bit of an edge in terms of support ults here to NYXL. Libero with this Blade, you know, the last 2 fights, he's been falling early. You know, hasn't had a great opportunity to use this Dragon Blade. Now you should be able to go to town with it, right? You know there's no support ult on the other side.
2 ticks, by the way, for the Seoul Dynasty. That might have passed without noticing, as there was a lot of noise going on, so it's hard to hear the tone. But Seoul are already 2/3 of the way to capturing this point, and now it's going to be a nano blade time for Libero going to go in here. He's found Miro already. Looking down for Toby. Decides Zumba might be the optimal target there. A slash through, and this is nasty. Oh, Libero! It's 5 kills. 10 HP left. Nothing gets you going like a good nano blade. We haven't seen many lately, but Libero delivers.
Well, that was a pretty perfect use of that. Everybody coming up towards the high ground for Seoul Dynasty. They had to know that was coming, right? You get both of those ultimates out, right? You know, maybe you think they're just going to use Dragon Blade, not exactly that nano boost. So you go up there, you lose that fight. You kind of expected that. It's, you know, kind of like an eco push, just trying to get some ultimates out from the side of New York.
Sabiobi in the back line. Oh, he realizes that Seoul are trying to turn on him. So good use of that recall there. It would have been dead to rights if he'd not done so. Now backing away. Must have noticed Munchkin out, heard them there. He does spot him here, so a bit of a duel. Sabiobi needs to play safe. He's only just got his recall back now, and Munchkin City on a health pack location. Munchkin, I think, just wants out of this fight. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. That's that recall. And now on the high ground, I guess there's more where the fight's happening. There's a Transcendence being used by Jonark here. And you can see, actually, both Jaehong uses his. Seoul have actually gained position now on that high ground. They're pushing down with a self-destruct dropped in front of Spawn. That's so nasty. Only 1 tick is left for Seoul to capture.
Yeah, it's going to be New York getting on the point. It'll be Mecco that gets there to just try and stall this out. Mono used the Primal Rage, got up top. It's going to be Flood up here at the front door. Trying to use his Attack Visor. 3 members on the point for Seoul. Here's a Sound Barrier.
Big Sound Barrier as well, just with the Dr. Rawdon. Libero down, Ark's also missing, and now it's going to be just down to Mono here with the nano boost, but Only's going to keep him alive for so long, and there it is! There's 10 seconds between the time banks of both Seoul and New York. We're getting some quality Overwatch in a very close match, and it's far from decided here on Hanamura.
Oh, this has been so close thus far. Like you said, 10 seconds, you know, in favor of Seoul Dynasty. A little bit more time in their time back in Overwatch, so 10 seconds, that's, you know, not really much of anything, right? It's basically as close to...
It's a respawn time.
Yeah, it's close to as equal as you can get. So I know both teams kind of using some different strategies to get there, right? It was NYXL, he uses that Hanzo on the first point, you know, just trying to, you know, gain some information, you know, also deterring Seoul from really making their presence felt on the point as one. And I know Seoul Dynasty on offense just going on in, Flood on the 76.
Off the back of the picks of Munchkin as well,
Yeah,
who's had an
Munchkin.
excellent match so far. Really opening up that first point. And again, I think we saw Seoul come out of a losing fight, but with 2 ticks on the point there. I think it was the second last fight that we saw. When I noticed the situation where Mana was actually trying to fight Flatter on high ground, use a Primal Rage and realized, oh no, I need to drop back to the point. And that's when they'd sort of given up those 2 ticks there. So NYXL maybe a slight oversight there and allowing Seoul to get that 66% capture so early.
Well, what they've been doing is as soon as Mono goes up to the high ground, they've been just putting all their emphasis on getting Meko demech'd. They'll use the pulse bomb on him, they'll jump on him with Miro as well, and that forces Mono to kind of get caught in the middle, right? Having to go back to the point, but then also wanting to pressure the high ground. Gives the supports a little bit more free reign. It looks like we'll see Libero play Pharah here on offense. Interesting, no Mercy, so most likely going to get the benefits from Jonax or Harmony. It looks like he may go back. Doesn't see anybody up top.
Going up against, I guess, the Ana 76 combo, maybe it doesn't make him feel great about trying to push in, especially through those smaller gaps.
Well, you probably would have liked Pharah if they were playing, out in the open on that back platform like a lot other teams do, or maybe up on the high ground. You're able to just spam that area with rockets, but now with Hanzo in the equation, right? You can spam the Sonic Arrow over and over again, just force Flood and not to peek out, knowing where he is.
Now NYXL have to go with Meko, no Meko. Just gets knocked out of his suit kind of early in the fight. Still going to attempt to capture the point, but not having a Diva here is really rough. Going up against the 76 and Zenyatta combo, but might not matter. Jehong, oh, he's had better days, but he's hanging on. That's beautiful. Meko and Jonak have both fallen here, and Savior, we just can't get close enough. Miro lands on top of Libero, and that's it. Clean fight for Seoul.
Yeah, they got Jehong really weak, and Mono and Savior be dived in for the kill. It's going to be Toby, though. They're able to heal him up all the way back to life. In a fight like that where New York's probably going to lose, you would have, ideally probably like to try and kill one support. You have such a great spawn advantage here, especially against a hero who's very slow like Zenyatta, right? It would have been very difficult for Jehong to get back in the fight. Libero makes another change, so no more Hanzo. You're going to go with Genji here, as it's going to be all out aggression.
His 3rd hero choice for this round alone. Munchkin, that's going to be a pulse bomb. Not really the one he was looking for there. It appears that Meko had eaten that one regardless. Again, close quarters. Sometimes it's very, very hard not to be tempted.
You see at the beginning here, though, Seoul doing a nice job, just putting a lot of emphasis on Meko. He was so good during stage 1. Go out there for like stage 1 MVP, right? The Diva role.
I think I had him as mine.
Yeah, he's been a huge impact for NYXL. Seoul has made it a point that when they see Meko, they go for him first.
Oh no, that bio grenade actually got eaten. Toby couldn't get that one across. Meko shot the healing coming in for Jehong and forced him to use a Transcendence maybe a little bit preemptively. Now, of course, as only is right. Jonak responds with his own. Flatter off the map. Manu got rid of him there. Now Miro going to go with the Primal Rage. He needs to try and even the ledger somewhat. Libero taking down Munchkin means that they're out of DPS power. Seoul need to get it done with just their tanks right now, and that's going to be a tricky job. Miro using the Primal Rage in the corner. He gets rid of Jonak. Sunbi gets a D-suit here, so it's a bit of storm with the 2 tanks fighting back-to-back of Seoul Dynasty, but Miro's down. Sunbi gets Libero with the micro rockets, and now Meko needs to clean off this Diva. Good stall between just a couple of players left on Seoul Dynasty. Buys them a couple seconds, putting NYXL very, very deep in their time bank. In fact, they'll be out of time by the time they cap this first point.
Have maybe, one chance here, 29 seconds left. You do have Sound Barrier plus Dragon Blade with no support ult on the other side, so Flood is going to have to get a real good use of this tactical visor. But if New York's doing a good job just kind of counting ultimates, keeping track of that, they know that Fleta has this tac visor up. He may be the target of this blade.
Right on New York, one shot, one opportunity, Mum Spaghetti, it's time to go. Sound Barrier out, and the blade joins it. Toby already down, Fleta trying to go for a tactical visor. This is maybe not where he wants to use it. 35 HP, Libero deals with Fleta, and the rest of Seoul are completely crumbled out of the weight of NYXL. You can see they wanted more, and Savior we deal with a final kill on Jehong just to clean up. 30 seconds is enough for the NYXL to finish the map. Are you kidding me?
But well, you can see as soon as they they decide not to give the high five, that's awesome. That's the last thing. But, so you can see as soon as Libero, he was firing a few shots as he's coming through the gateway, and he sees Toby there on that back left-hand side staircase, and he saw Fleta pop out for just a split second. As soon as that happens, they speed boost into that direction, and they go right after Toby and Fleta, because at that time, Toby's trying to speed boost Fleta all the way to the high ground to get a good use of that tac visor when everybody comes in through the front. It's a very smart play from New York. It's kind of what you thought they would do with that Dragon Blade, target Fleta. But I thought it would take them a little bit longer to figure out where he was.
You see that Fleta was going for a gambit himself. He was playing off the point. He was playing up on that platform above, hoping that NYXL would just run directly at the point itself and pay no heed to him above and behind them. But naturally, Libero was aware of this. Fleta desperately is trying to, activate his tactical visor, and he does get a couple of shots. But Libero had already dealt with him pretty comfortably there. Very impressive from the NYXL to identify a small keyhole in which to apply pressure and dismantle Seoul's defense.
And to be fair, it was a very smart idea from Seoul Dynasty. If you use that tack visor in the back of the point, it makes an extremely obvious and easy target. You try and go to that high ground, the one that everybody kind of contests over. That's another easy spot to get caught out predicted. So it was very smart. They were going to play the Lucio and the 76 on that left-hand side, then speed boost all the way around.
Protect the 76 with the boop, yeah. It wasn't the case. So now Seoul, once again, come back into an attack with at least a good understanding of what their scope needs to be in this round. They've got 2 minutes and 42 seconds. They get it all done. We're going to start here. You know, so Mecha's already taking a lot of damage. The war of attrition definitely going in favor of the Seoul Dynasty for the moment. Jaehong opens up nicely. Mano won't get away from this one. A little bit of healing. Just a smidgen of health, but Miro knows how to finish the job. Saviobi's been sort of forced back outside. This is great now, but the Seoul can watch them come in. Libero and Saviobi are out of position. Libero falls immediately to Zumba. You can see Saviobi, all he can do is, Flutter says, X marks the spot, bro. Come fight me here. The flagpole at 3 p.m. Yeah. That's not going to be the case.
He just needs to die at this point, right? Just doesn't want to get caught out a little bit too late. And then have a give Seoul a good opportunity before he can get back into a position. But the Seoul Dynasty with a very fast take of point A. They now have a little bit over 2.5 minutes here to take the next point.
New York need to be assertive, but they also need to be safe. They can't, take too many risks by playing aggressively on this defense. Pretty sure, yes, Saviobi was waiting for Munchkin on the high ground. It's going to force him out of position, but doesn't force the recall. Sound barrier now being used, but Miro didn't benefit from it. It doesn't matter because he found Mono regardless. Flatter hoping to set up on the high ground. It doesn't work! It's a sleep dart from Mark. Perfect shutdown there. Dragonblade coming in for Libero now. The cleanup crew is here, and we have to do it to him. 3 for Libero. And that'll be it for Seoul on this attack. Great recovery and beautiful shutdown from Ark.
Yeah, they end up using a nano boost there on a Jonak as he gets onto the point. Just it's so fun to watch these two teams play. Just the extremely high level of play and just decision making here when Fleta goes out to use this tack visor. Just look at how perfectly placed this is.
Is he gonna come around unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
This guy. Okay, well, we're back into it though. Seoul have already attempted another fight. They've only got 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Manu taking a lot of damage, but he has the tactical visor. It's the transcendence for both teams that need to be timed well here. When either one makes a mistake, and it could be all over right here.
You do have transcendence for both sides. It'll be Jaehong who takes out Saviobi, who's just been trying to harass him time after time. It'll be Meko who jumps up towards that high ground, has the self-destruct, but he's not going to be able to get back in his mech. It'll be Zumba who finishes him off. Zumba with a self-destruct of his own on the point. Mono does have Primal Rage to use here to just try and stall us out.
Finally, New York fire back. Jonak now dealing with Zumba. Libero can use the Transcendence now to his advantage. But Jaehong still has his delayed Transcendence. Now it gets forced out. Libero knows he needs to back away from that healing area, as Seoul are going to be very confident in playing around that. He wants a Dragon Blade. He needs it. He's about 15% away. You probably have with a couple more Shurikens. And Seoul are getting gummed up here. They're getting stalled out.
This is great for New York. You don't need to use that Dragon Blade here. They're able to hold on. 26 seconds left. You're going to have a Nano Blade here yet again. It'll be Toby, who does have a sound barrier as Arc gets picked up, so no opportunity to use that Nano Boost just yet. They'll be able to use it off the spawn, though. Mono actually hold on to Primal Rage during that fight as well, so you don't even really have to worry about stalling this out. He's going to use Primal Rage to start this fight.
Great way to open things up, put a bit of frustration and extra pressure on the Seoul Dynasty. Fled up with a tactical visor from the high ground, and Libero was missing. He had a Dragon Blade. It could have been more going to save New York. Keep it Seoul. We're going to win this one out, surely. Money drops in onto the point, and Jonah coming in with a Transcendence here. You can see in the background, Ark's trying to get that damage down on Fleta, but the sound barrier is making Seoul tough nuts to crack. Mano's down now. Munchkin stands on the point. That's 2 ticks. Saviobi and Meko jump into the fray. Defense matrix already tested to its limits, and that's another Transcendence from Jaehong. Are you kidding me? It brings it back in now. Meko in over the top to be desuited with the Dragon Blade on the backline, but Libero managed to yield him a kill. Saviobi, Libero down, Meko desuited, Arc falling, Mano trying to get to the point here. We are in overtime. Unbelievable. Mano throws the Biodome down and stays alive for a little while, but it's a very short-lived sojourn in peace and quiet. Yeah, you have it. We get another minute from both of these teams to see if either one can get the edge. But it's like you can't separate these two. You can fit them both under a tissue mat.
Libero gets taken out by Miro before he can get a real good use of that Dragon Blade. It hurt them on their first defensive stand, right? Remember, Libero just kept dying with that blade. They finally get a good use of it when he goes down the stairs, but he uses it. He actually uses 1 dash to get up top onto Fleta, and then that's when Jaehong uses that Transcendence, and Fleta just jumps right down into it. You did see Libero pick up some kills with it, but man, that could have been a game-winning Dragon Blade if it would have came a little bit earlier.
Jaehong farmed a very fast second Transcendence over the course of that fight. If you recall, Libero managed to force it out of him in the fight prior, but I think he had it. Jonak was at 22% on his.
Yeah, I mean, if Libero stays alive and uses that blade, Jaehong doesn't have Transcendence there. So that may be a win there for New York. So it was a huge opportunity that Seoul took advantage of. They were able to just have Miro go in back towards that back right corner, dive right on top of Libero, take him out. Probably the kill or elimination that solidified New York taking that point.
Well, here we are. First map, and it's gone down to the last piece of time bank here. These teams are both given a minute each to try and, I don't even know, to try and get ahead of each other, to try and distinguish themselves against their foes. But so far, we're looking at two mirror images of two incredible teams. NYXL going to be on the attack here. It's for them to start off first, and they only have a minute.
We knew this match was going to be extremely close. I mean, these two teams, probably well, right now you're 1 and 2 in the league, right? I think London would definitely want something to say about that. It's going to be New York on offense. They're going all the way around on this far right side. It's going to prevent Flooded from getting set up on that high ground. It's going to kind of switch roles, right? This is usually where the defense holds from. It's going to force Seoul all the way to that opposite side. It'll be New York just getting on the point here with Meko, trying to get control. It seems like they're being very secretive here, moving around the outside. They're trying to get Saviel in a position maybe to assault one of these supports.
He's already used that recall though, and he hasn't really faced the full brunt of Seoul's retaliation. So I find that interesting. Seoul themselves are actually also setting up. You'll notice on the high ground, behind Saviel is where most of them are. He needs to wait on this recall. I talk about it a lot, but for Tracer, it's your only lifeline. That's the first pick. Jaehong is down. Most fights are won from first picks and not ult advantage, Matt, and this seems to be a good direction for New York to go in now. Mano's down. Zunbani suited. It might be happening here. Sabiobi sitting back, farming at that pulse bomb. He's playing so safe, so scarce, so loose, and Flitter has fallen. They will have the point here. There's no point for Miro to try and contest this one, and the first hurdle for New York has been cleared.
And Seoul just got a little bit split there as Miro was trying to go all the way around, kind of through the middle of the map towards the back of the supports. As soon as New York realized it, that's when Libero just kind of dashed through, was able to take out Jaehong. You're going to have both support ults here for New York. You're probably going to have a blade.
Jonak has the trans, but Jaehong doesn't. That could be the swing factor. Oh my lord! Libero from downtown fights Toby with a shuriken. Flitter has fallen. It's 2 for Libero already, and he's going to have the Dragon Blade. The ultimate advantage is there for New York, and now it's time to exacerbate that factor. Zunba down to Meko. Libero standing on the point, trying to scan, see where he needs to be right now. They've got almost one ticket. Here's the Dragon Blade. Toby returns to the point, and he's dispatched as immediately as he returned. Libero a little bit out of position with that dash. Didn't quite get to grips with his next target, but it's fine. He deals with Miro with the last use of the Dragon Blade. Self-destruct forces Zunba out of his mech here. Libero needs to leave the point and avoid the explosion, and he does so. Mano with 2 already. This is beautiful. Libero chasing Flitter again. This time he's found him. Jaehong, it's just him with the very lonely Transcendence on the point, and New York are inching closer.
Yeah, Mano actually uses Primal Rage to knock Toby out of the way of that Transcendence, forces him up into the staircase. He falls, not able to get that healing, but she's very close to sound barrier. And New York will take point B yet again. 6 total points right now here on Hanamura. You see the New York guys going crazy. They're all talking about what they need to do now here on the defense.
Guys, let's cheese. Let's do the cheese now.
Well, we talk so much about, Savio B versus Munchkin in this matchup. Both players playing very well thus far. The real difference has been Libero versus Fleta. I think Libero, we talked a little bit about it in stage 1, where, he's had some, up and down games, but against, the top competition, that's when he's played his best. Right now, Libero, 35 limbs, 23 final blows, primarily playing, Genji and Hanzo. It's a very good game.
Here's the thing. Combined final blows from Seoul Dynasty's DPS players, 21. Combined final blows from New York's DPS players, 46. Yeah. Almost double that. So you can see just how much more emphasis is placed on New York's damage dealers here.
And everything else is, for both teams is pretty much even. I mean, Miro, a few, more than Mono. Always, Miro's had a very good map thus far. These two teams, like we keep mentioning, so even, but just that DPS duo of New York really coming to life. Libero getting good value at Dragon Blades too. 2.5 kills per Dragon Blade. Obviously, you know that 4K has something to do with it, but still, 12 Dragon Blade kills so far in this map. So this is something that Seoul does sometimes. They kind of hide their players around. Is
Oh my lord.
Maybe they get like a quick assassination where it's like a dash and a headshot.
They got the bush
traces
camouflage
through.
on their first drop map. Pretty OP. Xavier in. Oh, there it is! J-Hog didn't see that one coming. Manu is a casualty to this though. Perhaps just collateral damage at this point. New York do lose him in the process, and that might be their undoing. It's a 2-2 right now. Xavier will be forced to step back. No recall there, so he's benefiting from healing for the time being. Jonax keeping him topped up nicely. And with Toby down, absolute chaos for Sode in the backline.
And that's exactly what happens. It just causes so much chaos when those players just jump out from behind that it kind of scrambles you and makes you a little bit frantic on the Seoul Dynasty side, as they're going to have to regroup. One opportunity here, 15 seconds to go.
Now it's Seoul. Push in. Flatter and the entire team looks like they want to go for the more direct approach here. Not the most subtle, but hopefully for them, the more effective approach. Jonak down, but J-Hawk straight opposed him. Yaddles are missing here. The healing is now gone for Seoul. They've lost both their support players in the first push, and that's not ideal. Now with Miro falling, of course, Libero can clean up now. With no healing available to Seoul, it's easy for these picks to come through, and Libero gets his reset. Storm is out of the picture now. Pulse bomb dropped, and Xavier, he doesn't give a damn. It's just popped on the shield. Overtime is about done. First map. New York Excelsior. These two teams are going to go all 12 rounds in the boxing ring, slugging it out. And we are in for a treat.
An incredible map number 1 between NYXL and Seoul Dynasty, as New York barely come out on top, 6-4. See how hyped Sabio B is up at the top of his screens. He definitely has the right to be. Him and Libero combined for 51 final blows there in map number 1.
Unbelievable performance and a huge contribution overall for the DPS duo here of the New York Excelsior. For the Seoul Dynasty, it's a matter of recovery. Keep their heads in the mix. Our best two teams are going head-to-head right now, right here, just for you at home. We'll see you after the break for map 2.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.
Dynasty is now the only team which is still undefeated.
You look at your calendars like, oh no, New York Seoul is gonna be sick.
Seoul Dynasty versus the New York Excel.
스테이지 1보다 일단은 더 좋은 성적으로 달리고 있긴 한데 방심하면 안 될 것 같아요. 수비적이다, 공격적이라기보다는 약간 서울은 또 하나의 카테고리 같은 느낌인 것 같아요.
Unbelievable. They may be able to do this to withstand the attack.
서울이다. 맞아. 이름 다 가려놓고 픽만 봐도 얘 세울이다 하는 느낌 있어.
They've got the guts and confidence in themselves to pull it off. The Excelsior on the rise.
그러니까 단단하게 팀합적으로 제일 잘 움직이는 팀인 것 같아요.
서울 생각하면 이제 류정우 선수와 플레타 선수가 떠올라.
Fleta gets the job done.
잘하는 트레이서가 좀 많아서 세별비 선수는 리그 내에서 탑3 안에는 무조건 된다고 생각해요.
선딩이 많이 그럼 우린 최고라 하시잖아.
일단 전담 마크를 좀 안 시키면 좀 까다로운 선수라서 아마 전담 마크를 하지 않을까 생각합니다.
Save Yolby with key DPS frag right there.
That was a huge kill.
서울은 서울 같은 게 약점 같은데 느낌이 너무 서울스러워요. 좀 덜 서울스러우면은 더 강한 팀이 될 텐데 딱 너무 서울스러워서 좀 더 약하는 거지.
But what an impressive performance from Seoul. You can never count these guys out of any fight.
저희는 하이브리드입니다. 이제 이번 스테이지에서는 저희가 1점이 아닌 4점을 꼭 가져가겠습니다. 기대하세요.
Strong team, man. It is going to be tough to stop these guys.
우리가 더 잘하면 돼. 그래? 그럼 될 것 같은데요.
일단 지금 뉴욕 팀 분들이 1위 자리가 좀 위태위태한데 저희가 이번 시즌 스테이지는 꼭 1위 자리 가져갈 테니까 조심하세요.
Map 2 just around a corner here between the New York Excelsior and Seoul Dynasty, and what a way to kick things off on Hanamura, Matt. It was a slugfest.
Yeah, just an absolute back and forth battle between these two teams. A match we expected to be extremely close, one of the best of the stage, definitely delivered in map number 1. It's interesting though how much we've talked about this DPS battle. Though Fleta has looked so good throughout stage 1 and stage 2. A little bit of a shaky map there in map number 1. Need to have him come back in a big way here on Nepal. We're going to see Seoul Dynasty take it. And it's a map where Libero can start to shine yet again, right? This is a good map for the Pharah, good map for Genji as well.
We noticed in a previous map, we did mention it, that generally speaking, the DPS duo of the New York Excelsior had a much higher amount of final blows, but it's important to notice that overall, kill involvement, it was actually higher on Seoul for their tank and flex tanks. So Zumba and Miro are very much getting in these fights, and and that's why it's interesting to see that they say they're quite a balanced team. So they feel like they've got a balance. I think Zumba was calling them a hybrid team in the break, which is actually relatively consistent with how some of their matches fall out. The problem is, are they going to be strong enough at either that aggressive or defensive play style to handle New York?
Yeah, it's like they can do everything, just haven't exactly, perfected one exact thing just yet. I think, playing a lot of dive here for New York is going to be beneficial because you can send in, right, Mono and Libero, let's say, in your Winston Genji combination. And that forces, whether it's Fleta on 76, Jaehong and Toby to just kind of pack up together. That gives them a New York pretty nice advantage in terms of when Seoul's trying to get into the backline of them. Because, right, a lot of New York stuff is based around Jonak, just how much extra damage he puts down. When those players dive in on that 76 Ana Zen combination, they need a little bit more extra help. And let's say a Lucio is there, and that allows Jonak some more space to do work.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's jump in. Nepal. Map number 2, we're starting with Sanctum. We're going to have an Orisa here for New York.
Triple tank for Seoul here with, quad tank with a Moira here for Seoul Dynasty. So interesting. Probably not the best comp against NY. See, it's going to be Libero with a pick early.
No, like Xavier, look at him. He's playing away from the rest of his team, sneaking around. Jonak's got up in the corner there as well. He actually dives into the entirety of Seoul. Jonak now in the back line, somehow stayed alive for quite some time. Again, this tank-heavy lineup from Seoul. A little bit tricky for NYXL to break through, but look, they're transitioning to the point. They've actually captured that. Meko just takes a breather, but he gets pinned. Miro's got no time for those shenanigans. And now Seoul should be able to retake control here. Sabiobi drops onto the point as Widowmaker, so he's only there just to die on the point and stall a bit. That's all that New York are attempting to do now. And it might be time for them to back out. No, Ark wants to stay up in the sky. Zumba wants to chase him though. Ark's looking very, very low. Chase on a Libero now, micro rockets. There's an Orisa shield in the way. Libero's barrage found Toby.
Yeah, what do they really have to do with Libero? It's really just Zumba going at him time after time. He does take out Ark, so that's gonna be Libero's healing.
Going out, it'll be Seoul Dynasty who flips the point. I wonder what New York decides to do to break this. It'll be Mono who switches off of Orisa here. We'll go over to Winston. I wonder, know if you see somebody maybe go over to Reaper here for NYXL. It's obviously Reaper extremely good against these tanks.
Yeah, it's generally been like, if you watch contenders recently, there's been a lot of quad tank, and that's been the generally accepted response. It may not be, you know what, I mean, Farah's also been sort of cited as a good response to these tanks just because they lack their mobility to really access so comfortably. But look at this aggression coming in. So you can see the Fleta and Miro are pushed back by the boost in by Meko, who's still very healthy. Miro low, needs to keep his shield up to protect his team, but now the Transcendence in play, it might be a little bit hard for Seoul to get the damage to stick. Good pin on Meko, maybe not the target he was looking for. I think he was looking for the Transcending Jonak, and Miro's down.
Yeah, New York has actually flipped the point because Savio B goes all the way on the flank.
Oh, he's coming with
recall. Oh!
Big recall. Savio B wipes his brow. Gets himself out of that one.
So Savio B goes all the way on the flank, and obviously with all these tanks, nobody really able to get back there for Seoul Dynasty except for Toby. Toby goes back there, he boots Savio B back, right? The nice play there, keeping him away. The issue is then Libro's coming over the top, firing rockets down on him. Nobody is there to give him some help because they're trying to take out the rest of the members from New York coming on in.
Libro's there to start the damage, and Savio B's there to finish it. Now with the Coalescence in the sky, Libro actually needs to be a little bit careful. That can damage him. You can see that Jaehong is using that diagonally upwards in the air just to try and get him. Pulse Bomb doesn't connect for Savio, but now the sound barrier means that it's going to be tough for him to break in. Perhaps a time for Barrage here. Graviton Surge was used, but no one's there. Everyone got into the shade. It's like the movie 300. That's where they're fighting. And Meko will at least get rid of Jaehong, but Libero didn't get much value out of the Barrage.
Still hold on to the point here for New York. They do have another Transcendence. Miro dives all the way into the back on Jonak, but he has to get back to the point, right? The rest of his team members are falling. It's just Toby and Miro on the point here for Seoul. It's going to be Mono pushing out Fleta.
Oh, Jonak, he's looking dangerous. Discord Orb applied to Fleta. Unfortunately, it was applied after. Oh! Do you really think you can hide like that? It was Libero there to get that final pick, but Jonak was definitely involved.
And they got to raise on to Meko, so you get that second tank back up here for New York. It's going to be 99% and counting. Munchkin on the point. Try and extend it.
Time for Seoul to make their move, but Jonak's going to be there with the Transcendence. Notice that he steps forward towards his team to make sure that he's in position to give the most healing possible. Now, they did lose Mano in the process. Zumba was desuited, though, and that's it. Saviobi now in a position to start to run around. Saviobi is going to combine here, and now he's got the Transcendence. The healing, more than he needs, and the Pulse Bomb gets crazily thrown, doesn't connect.
Yeah, they use the Transcendence also help Arc stay alive as he brings Mono back in. You get that main tank back in. Miro does go Primal Rage here as Seoul still holding on. Meko using a self-destruct, just trying to get a new mech back.
That's it! Wasn't a chance for Miro to return to the point there. Ah, Matt. Meko had an amazing round. Just astonishing play from him. 7 final blows, highest on his team. 2 more than Libero had, and you saw him having a big impact. I called it at the start of stage 1. I said, in my opinion, this guy is one of the best flex tanks in the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
This guy, look, and it's important to point out that Arc was obviously pocketing him a lot of the time. He was mostly switching between Libero and Meko. So Meko in general was very hard to switch, especially with Mano sat on the point, initially playing that Orisa. But I have to say, that combination, the support and flex tank, is absolutely sick for NYXL.
And I did love the quad tank that came out from Seoul Dynasty at the beginning, definitely trying to throw New York off guard a little bit, right? Because Moira is a pretty good pick when there's no D.Va on the other side. And when you're running that Roadhog Orisa combo, you're pretty much guaranteed that.
No doubt about it. Go on both roles, Meko was powerful, and now we're going to switch to Shrine here. Compositionally speaking, perhaps a little bit more standard from both of these rosters. We're seeing the 76, the Tracer, so very safe, very standard. It's all going to come down to individual skill, force that coordination. Munchkin force back early. Won't be happy about that.
Just Saviobi's positioning all the time, right? Whenever he gets low, he's always just finding some kind of piece of cover against Munchkin weak. Yet again, forcing out another recall, and Saviobi using his own, just getting a little bit more HP as New York will have the point first.
I can see they're just controlling the space so well, and Munchkin, wherever he goes, Saviobi just seems to be there every single time. He can't get a look in, he can't get to the back line. Saviobi spent enough time farming up his Pulse Bomb on tanks, and now it's time to stick it! Oh, there it is, Jaehong! He's done! And Saviobi has more work to do. The body field drop by Fleta is going to make him harder to kill, but he's being focused down by much of NYXL. However, Zumba fighting Libero is going to force Saviobi back out of the action. They lost Meko, and Jonak tried to escape, doesn't get away.
And you mentioned, just New York taking that space at the beginning. We know New York to be a little bit more of a defensive team, right? They just take that space and then they just kind of sit there and just wait for Seoul, right? That's exactly what they want. They want to be a reactionary team. They don't want to be the team that makes that first move.
And you saw Saviobi, I mean, he was playing defensively on that Tracer. He was bouncing between the 4 corners just around the Shrine, covering off the entrances and keeping Seoul honest in terms of just chipping him away. But Seoul take control. Miro's had a very good round thus far, or the map in general has been good. Here's the Transcendence coming in, so Fleta probably looking to hold the tactical visor now and just try and take cover. No, we're going to slightly later Transcendence for Seoul, and this might be the opening here. Fleta coming forward. Again, trying to connect these Helix rockets, the pulse bomb. When you get dropped anywhere in particular, now it's time for the tactical visor. Immediately a recall comes out from Saviobi, but he pops up right in front of Fleta, right in the man's crosshairs. Two very important targets from NYXL are now gone, and Fleta wants a bit more.
So now if you're New York, I think you start to question, do you want to still run the 76? Do you want to run Genji here for Libero and just really put a lot of pressure?
What's a burst, or what are you looking for?
We're playing a little bit more defensive, right? You would say you want the 76, but I think they looked really good on Hanamura with Libero and Genji really closing the gap. He was obviously on fire, playing that hero in that first map. We'll see if they go back to it.
Saviobi dives in here with Mane, both together. Sound Barrier using it by Seoul Dynasty. There's been a lot of those for Toby, but it won't save Miro. He's down. Saviobi recalling on the point. He noticed Munchkin has just done the same thing. He knows his enemy Tracer is missing his recall for about 6 seconds as well. And now back to the more defensive approach. The problem is that NYXL need to capture the point. They must push forward. They must be the instigators here in this combat.
And Seoul is doing a fantastic job just staying on the point. Why? Because now you have Miro coming back off a spawn, has that primal rage, and he's going to jump right into Libero's face. That attack visor does take Jaehong and Fleta out, but it was Seoul Dynasty who picked up 2 kills of their own.
That's it. Libero with a D-suit there to match the other two, and it was very close. Miro almost separated Libero from the Transcendence of Dronak there, and it would have been impossible for him to survive, even with the tactical visor. The turnaround coming late in the fight again, though. Toby hangs on. The stall's been good. Overtime is there, but New York are able to set up. Importantly, Ru Jaehong has himself the Transcendence. And that's going to be so important because Dronak is without his.
You have Transcendence plus that tactical visor. Potentially Toby's going to get a sound barrier here as well. So some good ultimates for NY. Obviously they just need, for Seoul Dynasty, they just need to flip the point once. They have a very good opportunity to do it here.
Big fight. Seoul can take the time. They can actually lose this fight and be okay. And they probably already lost it. Munchkin's down. Dronak, again, this is something we've come to expect from him, finding these very unlikely picks to end fights before they can begin.
And that's just Munchkin just trying to cross and try and get on the flank, and that's not really him being out of position, right?
That's just walk.
Yeah, that's just nice long-range shots there from Jonak as...
Yeah, it's important to say that. It's not him punishing bad positioning, it's just him creating an opportunity when there otherwise wouldn't be one because he is so talented on that Zenyatta. So Seoul just plonk themselves on the point. They say they're daring New York to come to them because they know they have the Transcendence advantage when they use it. Arc down to a pulse bomb, and Fleta's there. Tactical visor is an option, but he wants to try and back away from Meko and get as much out of it as he can. But Meko knows he needs to hunt the 76. He's desuited. Now self-destruct at least to force some positioning out of Fleta, but Meko won't get back in. Fleta takes him down. He sticks to his target, takes responsibility for removing the Diva from the game, and now Seoul are in that overtime, sat on the point. A desperate attempt from Mano to keep it alive, and it's going to be hard. He's 1v6, and he's one less now. Savio, we finished off. It's going to be an attempt for Libero to try and run towards the point, but it's a very long trip to get there. Even Usain Bolt will have trouble. Now we have ourselves an even map here on Nepal.
Obviously, they didn't get a great opportunity when Munchkin died earlier in that second to last fight, but once they get everybody at full strength, just had a ton of great ultimates to combo there. Nice job not layering their, not using the support ultimates at the same time, right? They staggered them to get that maximum value out. They're able to flip the point back in their favor after they get it to 99%. So we'll have 1 point here on Nepal to decide the map. So, Miro has had a very good map on Nepal here for Seoul Dynasty. He's looked like a different player in stage 2.
The tanks for Seoul Dynasty in general have been astonishing. Miro and Toby, you're holding down the fort. Late in the fight, we're noticing that NY get a couple of early picks. We saw that Libero tactical vice, they got 2 kills and a D-Meg, and still, the presence of Miro and Toby on that point allowed Seoul to hold off long enough for the reinforcements to come and regain control.
And a big fight at the beginning here is going to be Libero against Fleta. We see when the team with the Pharah loses early, you kind of force that player to switch off of it, right? Would reset Libero's ultimate economy, kind of put him back, naturally, obviously, further behind Fleta. So it's really important for Seoul Dynasty to win this one out first.
And this is a dangerous map for Pharah because if Libero wants to interact with the point itself, he needs to put himself in harm's way. He needs to get a little bit too close to the ground than Pharah's would generally like. Notice that Libero's trying to circumvent the point now. Go around it and get some shots into close quarters.
And that's not a great spot for Seoul Dynasty to get into, right? Because you can just spam the choke as they come out. As see Munchkin gets behind Libero.
Too close!
And that's what the dangerous part about playing Pharah is. You have to get down towards your teammates close to the point. Again,
end up taken out.
An easy target Libero was, and now the cleanup is just a matter of formality. Sabiobi sprints off into the distance.
And look, when he switches off of Farah and goes over to you see Sabiobi, he'll get taken out as he's all the way behind enemy lines. Now Libero switches over to Genji, so you're really gonna miss out on maybe one extra ult from a DPS as the game goes on, right? Because Flutter's just getting his tac visor now, then you figure he uses it, Libero will build up towards a blade. Like, if it kind of keeps going back season,
they're out of sync.
Yeah, they're out of sync with each other, right? You're gonna have, you know, two DPS ultimates for Seoul Dynasty.
Naturally, that disparity between percentages can be sort of fixed or changed by one player doing much better than the other in a fight. Flutter's very low, actually. He almost went down. Munchkin picking off Jonak. There was a great start to the fight. There won't be a need for a tactical visor. Here is Manu, sideswiped and removed. Big Monkey goes out not with a roar but with a whimper as Seoul really start to plant their feet and the flag on this point here on Village.
Yeah, already up, you know, past 50%. Both support ultimates still holding on to that tactical visor, and they did get Flutter really weak at the beginning of that fight, just not able to finish him off. So
New York are split into their supports and the rest of their team, right? Jonak and Arca on that high ground here trying to work their way in. Flutter doesn't seem to be aware of that just yet. Self-destruct, play with a tactical visor, knowing that for a moment the Diva was missing. Meko's down, that would have been his chance! With Meko missing, the tactical visor would have been so much nastier, but Libero was there for the cleanup and he's approaching the Dragon Blade that he's been waiting for. He's very low though, he's forced to scamper up to safety with the use of the wall climb and J-Hop coming back into the point. But his Transcendence has been used already. The Sao Maria worked out for the New York Excelsior to keep them topped up through all the damage they were facing. A lot of scrutiny for Libero here. He gets the D-suit but knows he needs to escape. Munchkin found a very low health Genji and cleaned him up. The pulse bomb from Sabiobi was good on Fleta as he just returned to the fray. But it's not enough to keep NYXL contesting this point. They have to go now, Matt.
yeah, you have both supports here for Seoul Dynasty. You also have Miro as well. It's the overtime clicking now. It'll be Sabiobi who gets back and gets a touch, but Munchkin and Co. looks like they may be probably to take this map.
Arc is so low. Sabiobi wants to try and get there desperately. He does. Somehow they keep this going, but Munchkin's got a pulse bomb. It could be the fight ender, the checkmate, the coup de grace, and there it is. 1-1 in this series. Seoul Dynasty continue the trend of being rather strong on these control maps. Even Stevens in the halftime break, mate. How could we ask for any more?
And that first fight that they're able to win when New York runs Libero on Farah, that basically gets them up to like 60% plus on that point. It was really only 2 fights after that that New York had a chance to flip it. Fantastic map number 2 for Seoul Dynasty.
Always an interesting map to watch. Very fundamental brand of Overwatch being displayed about team compositions and ultimate economy and positioning. We'd love to see it, but after the break, we're going to be heading into a hybrid game type. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omened by HP, the official PC display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. We told you this match was going to be epic, and so far it has lived up to the hype. Some incredible plays between New York and Seoul, and we're all tied up now at 1 apiece. Welcome back, everybody. You guys having fun out here in LA? Yes! This is the series we wanted. This is the series we knew was going to be incredible, and they are giving us amazing plays. Let's talk through it at the start here, because when you watch Seoul, when you watch New York, two squads that definitely prep for their opponent. They watch the gameplay, they know what to counter, and they come in with a game plan. Sideshow, what did you see early on so far from these squads? What was the difference in the strategy?
So there's a massive difference in terms of what the teams were running overall. On Hanamura, it was very clear. Libero running 69% of the time he's on Genji, only 21% of the time on Soldier 76.
Okay.
Compare that to Fleta, and he is 94% of the time on Soldier. This is a Genji main, and he was getting picked repeatedly.
So watch right here what Fleta is doing. So he's just shooting away at the tank line, hiding back. So every time he reloads, he hides back to make sure that nobody knows where he's at. But New York is going to catch on to what Fleta is doing, and they're going to decide to send somebody and get him off the high ground. But it doesn't end there. This is a multi-pronged play, because now they're going to send Tracer in his face as well. So now not only is he from low in the high ground, forced even lower, Jonak snipes him out, and that is the pick that they orchestrate to basically take the first point, or point B rather.
Yeah.
You like that strategy from New York, sending Sabiovi off of Munchkin and off of protecting his healers to now go after the Soldier?
Yeah, because this is their whole game plan going into this. As I was saying, they have recognized that Flare is going to be on the Soldier most of the time, and the Seoul backline is available to be attacked. So they're playing very heavy dive, going really aggressive into the backline and mincing them to pieces. Whereas when you look at Seoul, and we have a couple of replays just to kind of showcase what they're doing, they are focusing very heavily on getting rid of Meko and Mano. They are focusing the tanks of NYXL massively. Here, Meko demeched. Watch Meko here. He's their first pick. They have the Soldier 76, crazy damage output. Now Mano tries to escape. He's on the left-hand side of your screen, the white Winston. He is getting hounded down. Tries to escape. Miro's going to jump after him. So the difference in who these teams are focusing is massively different.
Pick the DPS versus pick the tanks. What's working better?
Well, it also happens to do with the fact that you've got the Soldier, who's much better at taking down the D.Va than you have the Genji. So their compositions are tailored to do exactly that. Take out the tanks, take out the supports. I mean, obviously the Genji is working a little bit better right now, because once they figured out, okay, they're going to pick on Fleta, he immediately groups up with the team, and now it's more of a death ball that they're running. So it's both working, but very close.
Yes, and when you look at how NYXL are playing, as Crumbs was saying, they have this Genji and they're able to work it forwards. They are going for big pick compositions. They're not trying to set up positioning. They're getting Jonak in positions where he can get crazy orbs onto people. They're putting nano boosts onto Libero and sending him so deep. He's taking like a 1v4 there. Yeah, a crazy Dragon Blade. And here they're focusing Fleta, so they're going very deep into the backline and either focusing supports or Fleta. And Mano's having a great game despite being focused. They're actually doing a great job of being able to stop Seoul Dynasty ruining their tank line. Because by the time you've taken down the tanks and those huge health pools, NYXL have probably got a pick or two already, just because they're that fast.
One of my favorite parts of the Overwatch League is having people come in and watch for the first time. And we had some awesome investors upstairs. I was just talking them through what's happening between these two squads. I told them this was game one. This should be Seoul's. They had more time in the bank. Everything was looking good. You only have a minute left to score if you're New York. They were able to complete both of their final attacks. Seoul did not win the final attack. So can we talk about that crucial moment? What changed at the end of game one?
So there's a lot of momentum going. Every team is capping every point, so you realize you got to shake things up. Let's throw a curveball, and this is what the New York Excelsior do. This is amazing. You've got Libero and Sabiovi camping, because you know that if you take out the support, the push is over.
It's the push strat.
Yeah. Exactly. You have 1 minute. You only have 1 minute, so there's really only one play that Seoul can do. And by committing everybody here, Seoul is not going to expect this. So they're waiting patiently. They understand this is going to take about 10 seconds for everybody to come out. They get in position, and bam, 3-man attack onto Jaehong. You've got Winston jumping, Tracer and Genji from the side, and that already buys 30 seconds and a half for taking out this push. And that heads-up play, whoever made that call needs, you know, just take him out for dinner. Give him whatever you want. That was bravo.
And look what happens again. Meko and Mano both die in that push, but the picks have already happened. So this is the same thing occurring again. Seoul are trying to focus the tanks, but it's too slow. They've got too much health. And by the time they actually get those picks, it's too late. NYXL are already all over them.
Sneaky DPS gets the game win in game number 1, but that was just our first map of 2. Let's talk about Control. As it moved forward, we knew this was going to get sloppy. Control, all about the individual plays. Back and forth series here, fellas. What do we see in our second map?
The quad tank coming out here from Seoul Dynasty I really liked, actually, because they know that NYXL love playing Orisa Roadhog, and they can just run straight through the Orisa shield. Unfortunately, when NYXL turn over to dive, they just wipe the floor with the quad tank.
What were you impressed with when you watched that map? Because I really like seeing Sabiel be keeping it up, but on the other side, I enjoyed seeing the movement from the supports of the Seoul Dynasty. When you guys were looking at this game, there's so much happening in Control. Where were your eyes focused?
Well, so I think when you play Control, it becomes a lot harder to go for these plays where you're singling out individual members. Everybody's typically just very clumped, so the style of going for the supports is going to be a lot harder to pull off because you have the tanks readily available to peel. So the decision to peel is a lot easier for the Seoul tanks, whereas for New York, they have to go for whereas for Seoul, they're just focusing on tanks. That's really easy, right? They're right there, you shoot them down, and I think that style favored Control right now, which is really troubling because we thought New York would be favored in Control and that Seoul would take Assault, but they swapped. So now who's going to win? We don't know.
That's my next question here. This could go to another Game 5. Last time New York was winning the Control early on, it's Seoul taking that game mode. Who wins it if it goes the distance?
I think when we look at the 2 maps that we've got coming up, Hollywood, Gibraltar, these are Genji maps. I'm worried if they keep Fleder on Soldier 76 rather than letting him go wild on Genji. He is one of the best Genjis, possibly the best Genji that we have in the league, and he's playing 94% Soldier 76. So if they can get him on Genji, I'm going to favor Seoul for possibly getting into a map 5. But if they can't, I think NYXL will go there.
No Genji, no map 5. What about you, Crumbs?
Still Widowmaker maps, though, so I think a Widowmaker can pay off for Fleta there. However, I'm going to stick with New York. I like what they're doing. I think the dive is going to be very favored in those 2 maps. If they can hold off a Game 5, I think they'll have it.
I want to hear from the crowd before we go to the break. Who wants to see New York stay on top and win another one today? A lot of love here in the venue. Who wants to see the Dynasty come back in the second half and steal this? Can't wait to see how it all plays out. 2 games done, 2, maybe 3 still to go. Hollywood is coming up after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
1-1 in this match between the Seoul Dynasty and the NY Excel. And it doesn't get any more high level than this. This match is tightly contested. It's high level Overwatch. It is the reason why I love this game. And also, can we talk about Libero and how awesome that guy has been? He's been awesome, right? Right? I mean, Libero with the 5Ks, with Genji and all this stuff. It's been an amazing game. Anyways, I am ready for the second half. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and send it over to our casters, Uber and Mr. X.
Thank you very much, Malik. Good to be back. A quick breather as we jump now into the second half of the series. Well, blows have been traded, plays have been made, Matt. Here we are. Control looking very, very good for Seoul Dynasty. It looks like their patience in the way they were setting up, especially on Shrine, really helped them to get the best fights, especially for Fleta on that 76.
Yeah, it obviously helps them as a whole. The Mercy meta being gone, it allows Toby to play Lucio again, and then also Miro can play a little bit more aggressive, not kind of get punished by it. Our next map in the series will be Hollywood. You do have a substitution that comes in for NYXL. It'll be Janice that comes in for Mono. Janice usually comes in on these maps, so not really too surprising, right? It's not really a indication of
we're discussing
skill or performance with Mono. It's just this is the strategy they opt to go with.
Well, it's funny because it's something that we discussed at the stage playoff in stage 1, when New York actually made that change through the series, and everyone's like, why have they done this? And
well,
we surmised that this was a planned thing. That at this point in the series, we see a switch in main tank.
Yeah, I mean, they had, Janice came in on Nimbani in stage 1 against London. They end up taking that. He stays in, and they take the remaining 3 games as we get ready for Hollywood here, though. Still no signs of Pine from NYXL, but I feel like, if you want somebody right now in terms of DPS, it's so valuable to have somebody who can play 76 and Genji to complement your Tracer player, so
absolutely.
That's why Libero's in the game.
I mean, it is still concerning, Matt. No one likes deforestation, and no one wants to see Pine back in the lineup more than yours truly, but perhaps it is not quite the time right now for that McCree to really be thrown into the mix. Again, we're now seeing a meta that involves more Lucio, a little bit more flexibility in terms of those choices. 76 comes back in now as well. And perhaps it's just the most robust approach.
Well, you see, without Mercy in play, you don't see as much Widowmaker anymore. Usually when there is Widowmaker, hello guys, we're back. Usually when there is Widowmaker, we do see Mercy come into play, but with so much Lucio, right? It's Lucio, Zen primarily. You'll see a lot of Soldier 76, a lot of Genji. So that's why you see, probably the lineup that NY has out there. Going to be the lineup they play pretty consistently. If they wanted to run a Widowmaker too, Sabiel B is a very good Widowmaker in his own right.
I can't hear you. Yell louder. What are you saying?
Torbjorn! Oh, okay. Yeah, Torb.
Play Torbjorn, you cowards!
We have seen Seoul Dynasty in the past. Remember,
no, this is a Seoul play.
They have run Torbjorn in the past, as much as we joke.
Especially on Eichenwald, as well as a map that uses that Torbjorn Orisa combo. So you might get treated to something a little bit special here. Toby is the play that normally picks that. It's not like, nah, it's a shame. It wouldn't be like someone like Muma picking Symmetra. So we all hearkening.
Muma picks Symmetra.
Yeah, we're all.
It don't matter. Muma's not scared. Well, he has.
I'm pretty sure Mickey walked out of Spawn with it and then got taxied back by his Lucio just to troll us even more. So, okay, yeah, this is not the meta or the age for Torbjorn, sadly enough. Yep. Perhaps we await eagerly his return, but as it stands, let's sort of put this comp under the microscope.
Are we eager for the return of Torb on a consistent basis as Miro's just trying to move Zunba here?
I think they just wish they had the mood lighting we just had.
They'll run Orisa Hog in terms of tanks, obviously the Halt plus a hook, very good. Fleta will be playing Junkrat here. Junkrat's a hero who's obviously was so great during stage 1. He's kind of fallen out of favor here in stage 2, but pretty good on a map like Hollywood, can spam those chokes. And then Munchkin will play the 76 here. As
what is this? Savior on Pharah? Okay. Have we seen this before? I don't think so.
No. Sabiel B is
come on, you're his #1 fanboy, Matt. You should
primarily plays like Tracer, Widowmaker, McCree.
Okay, now you're just reciting Wikipedia. I'm done with you. Savior will be at least starting up on the Pharah here. So let's see. I mean, Libero on the Hanzo, pick-oriented, right? This is what was talked about in the break. This is what New York want to try and do. Savior got hooked in there, but look at the response. You see, Meko came forward to protect his Pharah, and that's actually left Libero open just to try and get some free shots in here, but he hasn't done a huge amount with it yet.
Yeah, and this comp from New York may have came out because they expected like Junkrat Tracer instead of Junkrat with 76.
Okay.
Which against the Junkrat and Tracer combination, you put
put Pharah up in the sky, you know, any kind of Pharah can put down some consistent damage just firing those rockets down, spamming them.
Well, also, a defensive Ana is very vulnerable to Pharah in this case. We've seen that picked off on multiple occasions. So it's the Valkyrie used by Arc here. Mecho's been desuited by the concussive mine of Fleta, but Savio's not found any, you know, real damage, any sort of non-zero impact on the battlefield thus far. It's all kind of being healed up. It's not worked out. The picks, the whole point of a pick composition is to actually get those firsts, and there it is. That's the pick they were looking for, just as I say it. Now, merciless are Seoul in both senses of the term.
And they have a Transcendence to keep everybody up. It'll be a Riptire that comes out from Fleta as Miro does fall.
Where you going with that, man?
Simply catches Arc. Oh, he's going to get Mecho. So, yeah, you know, 2 kills traded on both sides as it'll be Jaehong using his own Transcendence. That late Transcendence coming in from Jaehong.
Watch your back!
Probably saves the day.
Munchkin now with the high ground, able just to pepper down Libero. Libero maybe stuck around just a little bit too long. Munchkin gives him the universal salute. The tactical visor is now on his utility belt. There's also yet another Valkyrie available for Toby. Again, both teams actually playing a bit of a pick-oriented composition. We talk about Seoul, they have a Roadhog chain hook there. They also have Fleta's ability just to nuke people in one.
And some slow tanks for Seoul Dynasty with no Lucio. You may get caught in that Dragon Strike. It'll be Janus who backs out, gets back to the rest of the team.
That hook connected in the split second before Janus's shield came down. It looked like it went through the shield, but it just got there earlier. That's impressive. Now the tactical visor from the backline, and Mecha's kind of vulnerable to this one. Demon out desuited, Mini Demon now gonna cop it. Surely, Rocket now into the corner. Janus gets away, he's being pocketed by Arc as he flies across. There is a Valkyrie there for New York, but they're not making much progress here at all, Matthew. Not able to get those first picks or capitalize on them for that matter.
Now, the Dragon Strike from Libero did separate the members of Seoul Dynasty, but so much ground for them to just move all the way into the back of the cafe that they were able to survive on through it. Sabilby actually went right for Jaehong, but Jaehong had some teammates there for help. You do have both support ults here coming online for New York as Libero changes off of Hanzo, goes to Pharah here, so they have a Pharah Tracer combination. This is a little bit more what we're used to seeing.
New York might want to preemptively use a Valkyrie, and they do. Yep, they're going to try and get aggressive behind that extra healing. Hook in, Mecha doesn't get back in his suit. That's perfect timing from Zumba. It couldn't have been any more perfect. He drops down. Whoever thought that Roadhog was so spry, but Mecha got resurrected, and he gets inside the suit. Zumba's initial attempt to prevent him from doing so is now foiled by the presence of the Mercy, but it may not matter. Jaehong's back in the mix. Zumba's trying to deal with his assailant there, but he had multiple targets. Oh, that's a Riptire. Libero better watch out. Talk about burning rubber. Pharah now falls to the ground, and Saviobi needs the mega health pack or some healing from his team. He gets it, but New York haven't made any more progress.
Well, ideally, they would have been able to use that res onto Libero, but they used the res earlier onto Mecho, who was never able to get back in his mech, so he's going to have to go all the way back to the spawn and then back. It's really going to be on Saviobi here to touch. You're going to have Janus as well.
Touch and
should be able to come over the top.
Might want to just throw a bomb in here, see if he can get a pick again. That's what New York have been looking for this whole round. This could be the perfect situation for Saviobi to open up this fight. First, Janus goes in. Saviobi's in over the top. Does he have a special delivery? You better believe it! He gets the stick, but it's a quick Transcendence drawn out of Jaehong. He avoids getting blown up by the pulse bomb, and now his team has all that healing available. Mecho drops in, taken down. New York's Gambit, their final chance at taking this round seems to have been fooled again. Beautiful comment from Munchkin. It was a point-blank Helix rocket and a melee to finish off his target. And now Janus is down. Arc's trying to go for a resurrect in the corner, and he actually gets it. Janus is back. Good Transcendence from Jonak, allowing Arc to stay alive long enough to get the resurrect channel off. And Fleta's been taken down by Jonak. That's a huge barrage! Zumba and Miro have fallen. Supercharger also blown up. And just at the death of things, the NYXL have control. But Jaehong, unbelievable, found himself 2 kills. Jonak's fallen here. A 3rd kill for Jaehong. How is he doing this? Savio is missing. You can see an attempt now for Fleta to get back on the point. Toby's down. And now Mecho is going to be there. It looks like New York get up and off to the side. Jaehong just went insane.
Oh, they barely get the payload unlocked. A tremendous defense there from Seoul. But, you know, New York, they get so much value out of this Mercy, Mitch, because in a lot of these fights, right, where you need those big reses, they use Transcendence. They have Arc just sit in that Transcendence healing, get a res onto one of these tanks, then he pops Valkyrie, even more healing. They do such a good job of playing around that Mercy, even after the update.
Riptire in over the top now. Libero again falls foul of it. Fleta gets himself enough altitude. And the bird is turned to mulch. Seoul can set up around this again. That, again, just takes a little bit of the sting out of New York, and any momentum they might have had after capturing that point is sort of dissipated to a degree.
well, make a little bit of progress as Fleta goes back to the spawn. He's going to switch to Widowmaker, so I was going to be excited as Sabiel B versus Fleta Widowmaker battle, but see McCree come out from Sabiel B, a hero I know he played back in the Overwatch World Cup. Saw a lot of success with this hero. Probably the hero other than Tracer a lot of people know.
Flashbang still in tow, and he's found Munchkin. It's just that easy for this man. However, Fleta punishes from long range, and the Widowmaker definitely counters out McCree when it comes to these kind of distances. Libero's playing a dangerous game as well, and Miro follows up. Soul, solidify.
I was going to say, when you see Fleta in the back playing Widow, if you want to keep running this far, you need to have a Widow of your own. And Libero will go to Hanzo here, so it looks like you'll see a double sniper setup come out from NYXL. I thought when he was going to go back to change, I thought you would have seen like Widow Genji come out here from New York, but they're going to go with the double sniper. Libero feeling pretty confident that Hanzo.
I'd be interested to see how much pressure New York are really able to apply to Fleta, especially if Fleta decides to opt out of these 1v2s at long range, which is what you commonly expect to see them from a Widowmaker who's up against 2 snipers. But he's being pocketed. Bear that in mind. Toby is never too far away from him. There's a transcendence here for Seoul for what may be the last fight match.
There'll be a transcendence for NYXL too.
That would have been it. That would have been it.
Yeah, that would have been pretty much this first half. If he's able to connect that shot on Jonak, it'll be Munchkin. So he threw a pulse bomb in there. Get much of anything. That'll be the transcendence that comes out from Jaehong, as now it's going to be both support ultimates available for New York.
This is tough to watch. There's actually a big fight happening on the high ground at the same time here. Fleta wrapping in from the side. Meko's being pressured down by Jaehong. Goes for the self-destruct, but Fleta picks him off as soon as he gets out. Miro overextends a little bit into the explosion, but is relatively unharmed despite that. He's dropping in. Here's Johnny. Sabiel, he's taken down before he can get away. Miro didn't even intend to go there, but he saw his target and he picked it. Nice opportunism there. Jonak getting the pocket from Arc, staying alive through the Mercy healing, and Soul are really all around this fight. They're all over it, Matt, like moss on a rock. Arc's down, Jonak's missing as well, and Soul hold the New York Excelsior midway through this second phase of the map, which is notable. We do not often see this.
Yes, usually when you unlock the payload, you can kind of steamroll through this map, but New York had to use so many ultimates to just take the point that you were able to see Soul. I think they started off there in those second point defense. Obviously from point A to point B with their 2 support ults in tow. So got a good first half from Seoul Dynasty.
It didn't look great from New York on the attack, man. I'll be honest with you.
Also kind of odd at the beginning. Sabiel B on Farah from Sabiel B, and then Libero playing Hanzo. It was really just about getting these picks and maybe the Libero connecting with a shot from range, and then you could have some damage come down from Sabiel B at the same time, get an early pick, but it's quite odd. A composition we haven't seen from them before.
There was a pick from Libero that picked off Toby, the Mercy at one point. And despite this, it seemed as if New York were either not in a position or otherwise unable to capitalize on that man advantage they created from that pick. Very curious indeed. I have to say, very stoic hold in general by the Seoul Dynasty. And they're going to be so happy about this, Matt. They know now all they've got to do is really get through half of the map. If they get any reasonable, start to the fight on first point, it may all well be over. That's the golden box of victory right there.
Well, like we mentioned, it's kind of easy to steamroll your way from, point A all the way to completing point B. So if Seoul Dynasty does take this first point, it's looking very good for them to take this map.
So what do New York do then? I mean, what can they bring in here to really just gum up the Seoul Dynasty, or maybe just hold them in place? Because we don't often see full holds here, and especially between 2 teams of this caliber. Do you go for the cheese like we saw in Hanamura, a bit like play forward and get aggressive to start with?
It's hard because if you go for that cheese and it doesn't work, then you're switching out 2 or 3 players, and then you're never getting back to even in terms of ultimate economy. It'll be Seoul Dynasty running triple tank, and so instead of a lot like we saw in Nepal, now they're running triple tank here instead of quad tank. You're going to have Fleta play Junkrat, Jaehong on Moira. Should be able to get a ton of value healing these tanks. It'll be Moira on the other side for NYXL. NY also has Libero playing Farah. Should be able to get a ton of free damage.
Yep, Seoul want to be the first people in Starbucks, get their cold brew and get off to work. They've taken position up inside the cafe away from New York, which has put New York in a compromising spot themselves. Good hook connection from Munchkin, but he wasn't able to get the follow-up damage. The Defense Matrix did prevent that. Defense Matrix can't stop hook from Roadhog, but it can stop the follow-up. There's another one though. Meko gets drawn in. Can he protect himself this time? No. The Defense Matrix gets pretty much eaten up, and now it's on to everybody else. 3 people down in the space of a second. Seoul really dishing this damage, and the tanky composition comes in. Seoul Dynasty will have their cake, and the leader too.
It's another difficult part about playing Pharah against these tank-heavy comps. If you don't get those early picks with the Pharah and kind of capitalize on that damage, what does that damage do? It results in ultimate for Toby and Jaehong. Jaehong's able to heal up through all of that damage that Libero put down. He's going to have a coalescence for this next fight. And look, Libero has to switch in Jonak as well. So you reset any type of ultimate percentage you had with your Pharah and also your Moira.
What do you think about Widowmaker against this composition, one that includes a Reinhardt?
It's almost the same type of thing. Well, you're not going to get a ton of value, right? I mean, maybe you do a ton of damage to that Rein shield. At that point, you may as well, if you were just trying to burst the shield down, have pulled out a jump grab.
Well, here's the coalescence being used here from Jaehong just to stave off the attempted drop in from the New York Excelsior. Pulsepop doesn't even claim Zunba's life there. He's killed healthy. Meko once again, they put him on the leash. They said, come to daddy. And he gets desuited pretty much straight away. Meko not the kind of player to want to play fetch, but he didn't have any choice. Fleta finds Jonak on the high ground there. Lurking perhaps trying to stay alive or find a pick, but it won't be there. All right, boys, find each other's hands and get on to the next map. That was impressive from Seoul. But more than anything, that first point hold really showed us something special about this team, who we weren't sure about, Matt. Seoul, you know, had a lot of victories against lower tier teams, or lower level teams, should I say, in terms of the ranking, but this is big, this is huge.
And this map overall is just not very close. In a series that has had two extremely close maps to kick it off, after halftime, Seoul Dynasty comes in. They dominate here on Hollywood. New York never really had a chance. The game plan from Seoul was absolutely phenomenal.
Advantage Seoul. Potentially one more map left in the series. 2-1. New York must win Escort to stay in the series and take it to a map 5. We deserve it. We hope we'll have it.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Escort. The attacking team attempts to escort a payload to the end of the map within a limited amount of time. Each escort map consists of 3 checkpoints. Each team plays as attackers and defenders and will swap after a round ends. The team to push the payload farthest wins. In the event of a tie, each team has another chance to escort the payload.
And there you have a bit of a breakdown of how Escort works, Matt. For me, I love it because it's an entirely dynamic game type. The attacking team is constantly, trying to move with this payload. It's a little bit different to Hybrid, which we just saw, where the attacking team needs to capture the payload and then start moving it. It's definitely a different feel, gives us some different strategies too.
Yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities for the defense to set up some really close forward holes, like you saw in the Dallas Fuel Boston match, right?
Yeah, we did.
They played extremely close on Gibraltar. It gives them 2 or 3 fights. Mono comes back in for Janice. This is a substitution routine that New York constantly goes with, right? Janice comes in for map 3. Mono comes in back in for map 4 as we head into Gibraltar. May just be because they feel more comfortable playing Janice on hybrid type of maps. It allows Mono to really just focus on 3 game types and only those maps, as opposed to the entire series. Maybe they have some different things in game planning for hybrid, right? Because it is a different feel, like a map like this, right? Where it's got kind of a control brawly style at the beginning, and then we kind of go into the payload aspect. Maybe it allows them to really kind of perfect some really niche strats with Janice. So I think a lot of New York fans though would be happy to see Mono come back here though in that 4th game.
This is a curious map as well. We've seen multiple different manners in which defenders sort of like to set up. We saw just in the previous map that Dallas Fuel play so close to the attacker's spawn and try and use the mega health pack in that little side room and play around that. Obviously, it didn't work out famously for them. It started well. We see some teams like to sit back and use the Ana, use the Zen, use high ground control, a 76 there, and just try and keep the enemy at arm's length while getting optimal damage done.
And I think if you are a fan just watching and you were wondering, are we going to see Pine? This would be a map you would see him, but I think it just shows where that Widowmaker just kind of only hit scan role is right now in the current meta. I just don't know if it's worth losing potentially somebody who can play Soldier and Genji for in a map like this.
Well, I mean, this is evidenced also by the fact that we saw Taimu play a little bit less when this meta started, and obviously now he's switching over to playing a bit more of that main tank role. So the players that come out with that more sort of hit scan focused pool are not being used as mainstays in many of these rosters. But enough of that. Let's talk about Seoul Dynasty setup here. So they are playing around the Ana here for Toby, Jae-Hong on the Zenyatta. Apart from that, Fleta on the Genji.
And you saw the stat there. We have not seen Seoul Dynasty lose an escort map here in stage 2. But if we want to see more Overwatch between these 2 teams, New York is going to have one incredible game as they're going to go out with Hanzo yet again. So they've committed to Libero on the Hanzo here. They think he can put a ton of pressure on the opponents. You see a scatter out there on Namiro.
I think that's pretty weak. That suffices as pressure for the time being. Libero's trying to deny that corner away from Seoul and maybe attract a lot of attention in his direction to start.
And I wonder if they expect Seoul to be playing this on the defensive end with Fleta on Genji. As Sideshow mentioned, Fleta has one of the best Genjis. We just don't seem to see him play it often, right? Because he's playing that hit scan role for this team. Whether it's Soldier or Widowmaker, we see him play far as well. Again, his Genji kind of gets lost, but you've seen here at the beginning of this game with just these shots that Libero's put down. Okay, he's going to land a scatter arrow there on the Munchkin, gets that early first pick, but didn't expect that. I was going. You say, he's building up towards that Dragon Strike rather quickly. That's a big first pick there, though, on the Munchkin. There's nothing that Munchkin can even do about that, right? I mean,
yeah, ever just get scatter arrowed? I think if you played any sort of Overwatch in your time, you know exactly how it feels. Feels bad, man. Yeah, feels real bad.
I'm sure there's a lot of Tracer mains at home who watch that have just thrown their headset in anger. Sure.
Well, I think I understand that it's frustrating. I mean, good timing though. Munchkin was picked off. I'm not going to try and make it sound like it's a super skillful ability, guys.
Well,
don't worry.
You know that first pick is huge, right? Because Seoul is playing all the way back. They're really only kind of playing for one fight there, where some teams will play up a little bit closer to. You lose your Tracer at the beginning, that's huge, and then the second kill to go down is Arc picking out. I believe it was Jonak actually taking out Toby, so that is the second kill that goes down. It's a Dragon Strike, goes right through Jae-Hong.
I mean, that was it. Jae-Hong was trying to avoid Sabiobi, who dropped in like a magpie in the streets of Adelaide. This is so scary. He does eventually fall down though. Zumba chases him. For the record, magpies do dive bomb random people walking past where I'm from. We grew up in the School of Hard Knocks, man.
I don't even know what a magpie is.
Oh, it
sounded like a
white. It's like
food.
No, it's like a crow, but it's got white. I don't know how to explain it. It's a bird. They steal your jewelry and make nests out of it. Anyway,
Three-eyed raven.
Meko with the high ground here. Again, not sure how to proceed. Much of his team is sort of back out. He realizes he has to peel. He's actually quite split up from his team. Someone stuck him from behind. The Scion on his back said, kick me. And now he's going to have the D-suit there. He's going to be able to get back. He uses the self-destruct at least to try and get in, but Meko fell to the self-destruct of Zumba. Jaehong here, realizing now he's facing the scrutiny of Mano, who opts to back out, realizing that Seoul are a little bit too well short up for the time being. He gets himself the Mega. Jonak found Flutter on the ground, and now it's time to make a second foray into the backline. This time, Jaehong's not going to be so lucky. And yes, Toby, you're next. Sleep Dart helps keep him alive for a little while, and Meko just follows up. And now New York are starting to feel it.
And you see Meko just kind of prance around Mano's body and just keeping him up. And he gets hit with that Sleep Dart. So you did have Flutter with that Dragon Blade. Obviously, wasn't in a situation to use it there, as it looked like his team was in a great position, as he's going to use it now. As he's going to dive right into the backline. He gets arc. Yeah, that should be a switch coming through here for Flutter. Don't expect him to use a game-changing ultimate like a Dragon Blade in that type of situation.
Yeah. It's just a one-face moment there. He does switch out. Meanwhile, Bronak just cracking heads open. Again, with a lot of space there, Flutter tried to go in and find a kill on Arc. Again, if you force ultimates, using a Dragon Blade, you're intending just to throw away and switch anyway, it's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
And I love the mind games, because you actually had Libero switch over to Soldier 76, and then as soon as they use that Dragon Blade, he kind of like thinks something's up. So he goes back to Hanzo here. It's Toby sitting behind them on his right-hand side. Look to see him come out, land a big biotic grenade when the rest of Seoul Dynasty decides to push you. You see his little outline right next to Meko.
He sees Toby there. Toby playing off to the side. He wanted to set a play up with a sleep dart, but it won't be the case. Toby can even get out of this situation. A lot of yellow on the screen, but Toby's down. And now Saviobi's in a fairly advanced position. Will need to be sort of dug out of here, but I don't think Zumba recognizes his presence. Jaehong might be in trouble. Saviobi recalls Munchkin low. He had the Orb of Discord. That was well applied by Jonak. Knew the next target that Saviobi would go for, and Libero gets it with a Sonic Arrow? Okay. Okay.
His Hanzo has been fun to watch today, man. You know, just that kill onto Munchkin earlier with the scatter arrow, now another one. That's a nano boost applied onto Miros. He dives in deep. Savior B, though, will go all the way around, just hunting down these supports. He's there with Mono as well.
Miro falls to Jonak there as well, who's been sitting in the back line. This pulse bomb, you know, it's got Jaehong's name written all over it. He doesn't get the stick, but Jaehong still goes for the Transcendence anyway. Maybe he was unsure how close he was to the pulse bomb, or perhaps it was just trying to get the extra healing anyway. Saviobi is without his recall right now, so he'll just spend some time shooting tanks instead of taking deep forays into the back line. Once that ability's off its cooldown, he will be able to continue to do that, combined with Mano and Meko, who both have their ultimates back.
And we do see Libero make a change off of Hanzo, will go to Widowmaker, so usually don't see him play Widowmaker. It's usually Savior B or Pine for this roster, but need the Tracer at this point in the map, as he's just trying to keep Munchkin and Miro off of the supports.
Still 3 minutes left in the round. Miro haven't used his Primal Rage. Some rather little effect. Might leave an opening here for NYXL. To be fair, Mano has done the same thing, currently in Primal Rage. How are they using this displacement to their advantage, NYXL? That's the question. Libero once again gets into the sky. He's wary that Flutter is looking for him. Meko takes a shot from the aforementioned Widowmaker on the side of Seoul, and Munchkin's down early. One player missing. Saviobi, it might be time for another dive bomb again. Who's he looking for? This time it's Flutter. Doesn't quite get him, doesn't stick the landing either, but he's got help, he's got backup. They're going to pressure down, big stick.
And Jonak has it's going to be Jaehong with Transcendence for Seoul Dynasty. Jonak getting very close to his. They'll use Valkyrie to provide a ton of healing for the rest of NYXL. They did lose Mono here. So Meko right back in his mech here.
You are never safe, Jaehong, but Zunba! Body blaster action.
So Libero uses his Inversight here, as well as Jonak still on the payload here. You don't see a support just kind of pushed up alone too often. Does have that Transcendence. They're probably going to be forced to back out here, Mitch, so they lose their second tank.
That was huge, though. Munchkin got chucked down very low by Jonak. Eventually, Flutter switches on. Comes in just with the SMG firing mode on that rifle to finish the kill. So, Widow's Kiss has definitely had its fill so far. Flutter now just up on the bridge there. Knows he can't stand forward too long, but Libero for Hanzo here.
And those Sonic arrows that he keeps putting down, and when they catch Flutter, just forces Flutter to move positions where you can kind of buy yourself a little bit of space, right? He's playing up in that bridge close, able to put down a ton of damage as he just spots the corner of Libero there. Has to be so careful, right? Because Hanzo can kind of just like jiggle peek those corners and get those arrows out before you can even see him.
Yeah, he can have you dead before you see him peek at all, because there's a delay, I guess, on the travel time. Mono removed by Munchkin here, so this is a great way for Seoul to relieve some of that pressure. The main initiator now for NYXL is down.
Yeah, no opportunity for a res either, so you don't really get a good push here for New York, where you could have used both support ultimates before Seoul would have gotten just their transcendence.
And hear the music change. That tense tone is now still left.
So they're going to go.
Payload is rolled back.
They're going to go double sniper again here at the end. So usually you would want your Tracer, or even a Genji, right? Just one of those flankers to put a ton of pressure in that back open area, because there's nowhere for the supports to really hide except go back to the spawn. This time they're going to use those double snipers to put that pressure, just trying to get those supports to get out of line of sight.
Mano's Primal Rage is the most important ability on NYXL right now. The rest of Seoul are just going to take cover from this double sniper, so Mano needs to dig them out by using that Primal Rage, force them into the open. Otherwise, Seoul have no incentive to really peek into this. J-Hong's found Libero, Saviobi's down to Fletter. Double sniper, double down.
It's going to be Jonak using that Transcendence. He just needs to use it to stay alive, get back towards that payload. Mono's going to use his Primal Rage as well. Just trying to push the payload a little bit further. It'll be a self-destruct from Echo that comes over on the top. Man, Seoul Dynasty is in control of this.
Yeah, Mono in no position to really try and keep this storm up. He tries to make the jump on Fletter. It's skeet shooting. He picks Mono out of the sky, and there's no representatives from New York here to keep the game time rolling, and that'll be it. NYXL fall tantalizingly short of their goal. Make it odd switch to a double sniper composition kind of the end of the map, and it promptly have both the Hanzo and Widow picked off.
Which is weird, because if you wanted to run a sniper for the entire time, you know, maybe Saviobi plays Widowmaker and you play something like Widow Genji, right? If you're willing to switch off with the Tracer there at the end to have another sniper.
I don't quite understand. I mean, it's very, very easy for Seoul to break line of sight defensively if they know they're playing against a double sniper on their map. And then what are you going to do? You have Jonak, who sort of needs that line of sight himself. So you really do need Mano to actually jump in and move people out. And then is Meko joining him to peel for him? Then who's going to peel for the snipers?
Move people or just move the payload, right?
Yeah.
Just create.
Force them out.
Yeah, force them out from behind that cover. But there's a lot of positions that Seoul Dynasty can hide from there at the end. And especially when they're playing Widowmaker on the defensive end, the most successful thing we've seen is like a Widowmaker plus a diving flanker, you know, like a Tracer or a Genji, where you know, they can get behind that Widowmaker after they're forced out from the high ground. At that moment, Fleta's just kind of putting some shots down in the direction of Libero, forcing him not to really peek. Saviobi kind of switches to the Widowmaker so late, we don't really get a great chance to see them put that double sniper into effect.
It's interesting. It can be tough for dive compositions to finish the map on the attacking side, because in order to get access or get to the enemy team, the defenders, you can often take a lot of damage from things such as Widow and the like. NYXL goes for a little bit more of a backseat approach to get them all the way.
And now on the defense, they will play that Genji Tracer combination. So they're going to use that Genji to go right at Fleta instead of having Widowmaker of their own here on the defensive end. As see Libero now playing 75% of the Hanzo usage on Gibraltar and 100% of the final blow. So you usually see Hanzo, at the beginning of these games, sometimes from teams on the offense, to just shoot a sonic arrow out at the corner, see if anybody's playing up top.
All right, Miro going to be pushing in. Remember, Seoul are definitely not out of the woods yet. They need to finish the map, essentially. If they get snarled up, we see these first point full holds sometimes, especially when defending teams are on really good lockdown and got a really coordinated hold. So Fletter is here to try and get these picks. Again, both of these teams have angled towards pick compositions in different context over all of this entire series, and it comes down to the individual skill of the player to finish these kills.
Yeah, and New York did push the payload pretty far there towards the end. So they got it around that devastating first corner there when you go from point B to point C. So they did make decent progress. See if Seoul can start off good here early though, Mitch. A lot of the times we see this get stalled out, right, where you extend point A so long that it goes into overtime, then the opposing teams get shut on top of the ship on defense and they hold there before point B gets taken.
That momentum, Jonak, wow, he backed up straight into J-Hawk, gets himself a biting grenade, and that is beautiful from Arc to keep him alive, and it actually causes it to be a trade in Senyata's. Arc being down though, and it's a 4v4. Now with Toby missing, Seoul are down to only 3 players, and they have no healers. See if they can press forward though. Mano being removed, it's back and forth. These guys are running on just the dregs of their team compositions. That pulse bomb was there to secure the kill on the mini diva, and it works so well. Saviobi, that is a very classy show of flair from Munchkin to get that finished with their melee. It won't get them all the way, but it will get them close, and there'll be time for reinforcements to arrive for Seoul.
Yeah, New York will have one more fight though. Use a nano boost on the Libero as he just gets towards that payload, stays alive. He does get the Dragon Blade out of it, just needs to get healed up before they use it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go for it quite yet. He doesn't know if there's any sort of defensive ultimates yet. No, cannon! It's a Cossack kick straight to the bread basket. And Libero, his Dragon Blade is completely shut down. And yeah, now it's time for the Transcendence from Jonak here, but Libero's already missing. So how do New York make the best of this bad situation? So far, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to, and they get the first checkpoint. We talked about momentum earlier on, Matt. It looks like Seoul have it.
Yeah, New York uses some ultimates there towards the end, like that Transcendence and whatnot, trying to force some more ultimates out of the side from Seoul. Seoul ends up holding on to their own Transcendence, though, in there going to get their Valkyrie here. So Seoul Dynasty looking very good now, beginning of Gibraltar.
So far in this match, Jaehong and Jonak are about dead even for damage per 10, or healing potential, I say. Damage is actually a little bit in favor of Jonak, as one would expect. So, some more healing. Jonak definitely getting it done. All those moments from Jaehong, though, they're why he's one of the best. Munchkin's Pulse Bomb doesn't really do much to dissuade New York at all, but he's waiting in the wings for an opportunity to come forward. Here's the Trans.
And they're going to use the Valkyrie here as well, so it's both support ultimates for Seoul Dynasty. New York just backs up as soon as they see both of those ultimates come in. They split off Miro. They get that pick on the main tank, but Toby's going to get the res off.
Okay, well, they need to do something with this now. Jaehong dived upon. He's being pocketed currently by Toby. Libero tries to take a foray in, but Zumba's there. The Discord Orb of Jaehong was well employed to make it a very fragile Cyber Ninja jumping on Jaehong, who's now somewhat out of position, so needs to get out in the open. Again, it's going to be long-range damage is the name of the game, and try and provide those Harmony Orbs so the Seoul Dynasty can sustain through this damage. It looks like they're fairly split. They're going to back away. It's going to be quite a staggered retreat.
Yeah, Libero did get flooded, though, so that is obviously the ideal target there for that Genji. Dives all the way into the back. Takes him out. That's a lot of long-range damage that they're going to miss.
Although it's the back cap. They've seen him, though. Very good. NYXL behaving themselves and staying disciplined. Munchkin can't sneak past them, but it might force them to turn their heads. You can see the Meko being pursued there briefly by Zumba.
They're just trying to create a little bit more space for Flutta. He was getting dived on by Mono. Now they've created this space. Flutta uses the infra sight, able to come out a little bit. It'll be a pulse bomb from Munchkin. Doesn't connect with anything. So Ark has used this Valkyrie here, and you see Seoul, they have not even tried to push on in. They're going to let this run out.
Munchkin maintaining position inside the shuttle here, but again, the Dynasty need to find a way to break this one open. Is that the key? Is that the major key, Matt? Perhaps. Ark is down, and 2 by 2, the rest of the NYXL may succumb. Jonak's missing, and Munchkin's in a great spot here just to follow up on the damage and get the clean up. There's going to be the self-destruct coming in there from Meko just to get his mech back, but Libero's down again! Jaehong, you monster! Removes him from the fight, and that's a latent pulse bomb. He gets another, Meko gets desuited and taken down, and Jaehong's had enough of this nonsense. Now he's starting to fire up, finds Mono, charged Discord Orb there, coming in with the Orbs of Destruction, and now gives the Transcendence over to the rest of the Seoul Dynasty. They are far from done. Jonak pushed back into the corner, and Jaehong, you better believe he's going to take credit for that kill. Libero discorded, trying to back away. A very tense fight, but NYXL haven't really been in this one. They've just been stalling out. It's been a matter of formality here. Just fun and games as they try and hold on.
And Mono does have a primal range to use, decides not to use it there towards the end as Jaehong, man. He's probably been tired about hearing so much about Jonak on that Zen, wants to show people why he's still one of the best Zens in the world. Seoul does use both support ultimates there. Fletta switches off of Widowmaker. Will go to Soldier 76, so he should be able to get some control of the high ground first. It's just whether they can protect him or not.
Jonak currently has top damage on his entire team on New York. He's 23% of his team's damage on Zenyatta! For the love of God! Nerf that. Whereas Jaehong obviously just doubled his total final blows essentially in that last fight, so now he's looking very good. The Zennies are starting to fire up, man, as we like to see.
Zenyatta just such a dominant hero in the meta, right? You know, Zen and Diva really kind of the cornerstones of what we have right now. Seoul has made a lot of progress here. You see that, box of victory right in their sights. As they move the payload around the corner, it'll be Jaehong with a pick on a Jonak.
That's what he wants.
Start things off.
Get rid of his opposite number again. Both Zenyatas are traded out. You can see these two teams prioritize both Jonak and Jaehong respectively in terms of targets. And that's been a good start of the fight for the XL. They spring forward.
And Flutta uses attack visor here, so not going to have that Soldier 76 ultimate that he potentially could have used on the high ground. Probably uses the attack visor because Ark is using Valkyrie, so in the sky, a fairly easy target to hit. Just not able to get anything for it. So now
say that. Didn't used to be such an easy target.
Yeah, when she was moving like 10 times as fast, but she's a little bit slower
like Mark IV?
Yes, Libero will have Dragon Blade. Hasn't come up with some big blades here
big flank
on this map.
This is a big flank. Will it go wrong? Jaehong getting defense matrix there. You can see quickly Zuma realizes what's happening. Quick scrambles to try and defend his backline. Flatters down. Libero's Dragon Blade has found its mark, and now another one perhaps. Yes, he'll have it. 2 for him. Zuma though punishes him. Being out in the open, the self-destruct claims its kill, but only 3 players are there for Seoul. They've got to wait.
And it's only a minute to go. You know, New York did a decent job of stalling out that A to B push through the shuttle area. Where this is where we see a lot of teams get stuck at this corner because New York kind of dominates the high ground. There's a decent amount of flanking routes for them to come on. And Saviel B with this pulse bomb. And we've seen him come up in the clutch so many times with these plays.
He's got to stick it. He's got to stop Seoul here. They're getting very close to finishing the map off. No, it's eaten. Nothing to be done there. Great positioning. Good setup for Zumba to eat that pulse bomb. But now, what's the follow-up going to look like here? Straight away, Sabiobi realizes he's been spotted. Miro decided to take a crack at him, but didn't quite make the jump. Sabiobi to drop down. His recall's almost available. He'll have it here, so he can play a little bit safer around the payload until it's time to spring forward.
Ark's going to have a Valkyrie here. He's going to pop it. You're going to try and keep everybody topped up, maybe until Jonak can earn himself that transcendence. They put a lot of pressure on him. Fleta, he drops that biotic. Down, trying to stay alive. Libero's got 2.
Libero running riot. Both supports are down. Ninja gets in there, and now it's all just a clean up. The NYXL have held off the Seoul Dynasty, who have been dogged in their pursuit of making this a 3-1, but it's not going to happen. Now we're into the overtime. Pulse bomb drop right in the doorway. That's not very polite at all. There is some stall happening on the payload here, but that player Munchkin is now down, and we'll send that overtime tick away. We get ourselves a map 5. Make some noise. This is what we wanted. We saw what the schedule for this stage was going to look like, Matt. We saw this game coming. We hoped, we prayed it would deliver, and it surely has.
So we will see a game 5. As New York hands Seoul their first escort loss in stage 2. A lot like stage 1, this one's going to go the distance.
That's it. Remember the last time we saw Control, it was very, very close. We're now going to head to our tiebreaker, which will also be our Control map. Lijiang Tower, I believe it'll be. What a way to finish this series off. All right, catch your breath. We'll see you after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
3, 2, 1, and live. Welcome to the party.
So many stars on this lineup. And this is where we see the high quality Overwatch, everybody.
Enough of the fun and games. It's time to get the job done. We came into this match, ladies and gentlemen, seeing 1 versus 2 up here on the leaderboards, and it has definitely not disappointed us at all. Now, map 5, Ilios, of course, not Lee Jung-Tao. That was the previous stage. What a stage to be set to finish these things off.
No subs from either team, so you don't see Pines come in. In a map that he played a lot during stage 1.
Save the forests, save the trees, come on.
As if we get Ruins, a Sabiel B versus Fleta Widow match, or maybe we see whether Libero play. I know the Widowmaker.
Yeah.
Looks like we'll kick things off though with Well.
Okay, so this is interesting, right? It could be a Pharah map, could be a Genji map from Libero. Could potentially.
This is the problems he gives a lot of teams. He can play so many heroes at a high level. That, the thing with Libero is you wouldn't say like he's the best at a certain hero, but when you mention who's one of the better Pharahs in the league, right? His name's always in that conversation.
So you call him a Jack of all trades and King of none?
Yes, exactly.
But guess who's on his team? Sabiel will be in that tracer position, who's been, by and large regarded to be the top tracer in this league.
And he is and the reason they can have Libero kind of be that, kind of jack of all trades, master of none, is that Sabiel B is the master of tracer. They get that consistent play from him game in, game out.
We see that
They're never worried about it.
For a lot of teams, actually. We sort of look over the most successful teams have sort of had that solid tracer position covered, and then, of course, a flexible player in that, hit scan or, an extra projectile spot. NYXL have a winning formula. The question is it enough to clinch it on Seoul here on the map of Ilios, Matt? That's what we're here to find out. Make some noise. Map 5, it all ends here on the map of Ilios. What a match it's been.
And a player to keep your eye on, or a matchup, if you will, to keep your eye on during this one is Zumba versus Meko. Meko had a really good game on Gibraltar. Led NYXL, I believe, in final blows, so look to see if Meko can have another good game on Diva. Really, I feel like when you looked in stage 1, you were talking about the best player at certain position, right, or best player at certain hero. I feel like the difference between Meko and the other off tanks was the largest of any role.
Definitely a standout performer on the NYXL. He's seen a target here. J-Hole might be in trouble. See the defense matrix thrown in by Zumba, but it's not enough. And both supports fall to Mano's hand. Fantastic execution, hammer and anvil style from the NYXL to remove all the healing from Seoul.
And you'll take that trade anytime. If you can just trade out Mano for both supports on the other team, makes a very good calculated dive. And what does he do? He forces him into a position where Meko is right there to meet them on the spot. Helps finish off Jaehyung. So it'll be New York in control of the point first. Forces Fleta to switch off with a Pharah. Like we talked about in Nepal, when you lose that first fight, you play the Pharah, kind of forces switch off of it.
That's very dependent on you getting ahead early, and that's not always something you can count on, Matt. Sabiobi would love to find Jonak and give him some trouble, but look at this, the bodyguards are there. Miro says, no, you're not getting here. Beware of the monkey. Sabiobi does eventually find Jonak, but he can only really give him a bit of a tickle, a reminder that he's there before he's forced to recall. Back behind the safety of his own Diva here. Here's a Transcendence, though. It's starting to get a little bit more aggressive. Pulse Bomb dropped in, and Zumba falls foul of it. Libero trying to get more out of his tactical visor, but he's actually knocked off course and out of trajectory for him to connect the rest of the damage. Munchkin had to go for the recall there. He's now in danger, and it might be that Miro's surrounded and corralled and cut down, and he is. Going to be the use, of course, of that Orb of Discord to make it much easier to punch through that Armored Hide.
And so much pressure that comes in from Meko and Sabiel B that Toby and Jaehyung are forced to just kind of stand right next to Fleta, forces Zumba into this position as well, and Miro's trying to put some pressure on the opposing supports. But there's nobody else there to heal him up, right? Mano comes off the spawn, jumps in there, helps Libero finish off Miro.
Fleta has a tactical visor here. Double sound barrier here by both sides. Jonak had no idea what hit him. Munchkin gets himself 2 more. What a way to make a statement here. The Pulse Bomb is beautiful. A ladder D-suit to that tally. And there's no bigger way for Seoul Dynasty to explode back into the round than off the back of Munchkin just kicking it. He had a bit of a slower start to the season, but let's see how this went down, Matt.
Right now, Munchkin putting up over 30% of team damage. Same with Libero for NYXL, as New York will have a sound barrier, no support ultimate here for Seoul Dynasty. They do have this tactical visor to use, but it's so difficult to get in a good position. So if you stand out in the open, could get knocked into that well.
There it is, Jonak opens up. Jaehong is the first to fall in this fight as Zenyatta's fight for supremacy across the map at each other. And Miro's in the mix now with that primal rage. Libero forced to take a big old step back. He might be spry for his age, but he still needs to dodge around Miro. At least this time, it's going to be both Winstons going after both 76ers. Mano actually comes out on top, though.
And Mano, he's going to get very close to taking out Jaehong here. It doesn't exactly do it as he's with 58 health, but Fleto is actually going around to sit up on the high ground. Potentially rocket boost himself up onto like where that lighthouse is.
Is this happening? Saviobi in, doesn't get the stick. That could have been big. But Libero instead across the map actually finds
no attack visor.
That's not what they were wanting at all. Lost that big ultimate. Guess who has attack visor? NYXL has that one at least to work with, but Toby don't care. He gets a DC to Meko, sends him off the map, and Jonak's already down. So now they're missing the D.Va and their Zen healing. Jonak was close to a Transcendence and won't have it for this fight. So now the NYXL have to improvise, get it done a different way. Saviobi found Munchkin and Libero forced to back away. Jaehong looking very low. He wants to take the challenge. Libero's got it, but Toby's there. It's a 1-for-1, and Saviobi needs to back out.
It will be Seoul Dynasty who's in control of the point. You have Transcendence for New York. You do have Libero down. So looks like they're just going to get on the point and stand here for a little bit. Build up some ultimate. It'll be Flooded using that attack visor, and they're going to use the sound barrier as well.
But it's been played into a Transcendence map. We'll see if the damage is going to be there. Saviobi runs straight back to the safe haven of the healing over time that Jonak was providing. But aforementioned Jonak is down. It may not matter though, because Miro and Munchkin are missing. Flatter trying to stay safe in the backline, and other self-destructs coming in over the top. No one is falling foul of that one here, but Zumba's down. Seoul Dynasty are running out of numbers. There's just 3 players left on the point, and the Primal Rage is coming up. Everything's going the right way for the New York Excelsior, and Mano's more than happy to pursue doggedly his targets now as they try and filter back onto the point. Miro does get over. He heads over the fence, but he just gets burst down. 99 to 79 as Flatter desperately attempts to dip his toe in the water, but he's ejected from the pool immediately. Basti didn't bring the right swimmers at all. Libero going down to a pulse bomb. Saviobi finds one on Zunba here, Matt. That was a bit of fun. Toby trying to get in, but that may be it here. Seoul Dynasty go down in the first round. Remember, Matt, bring the right swimmers to the pool. You get ejected. Brilliant.
So, game 5 on Lijiang Tower in stage 1. I believe Bunny was in that one for Seoul Dynasty. Munchkin has had a very good series, Mitch, but on this first point, Saviobi goes 18-1 to Munchkin's 11-5. So you see, in these clutch situations, this guy never plays bad. It's like game 5 always shows up. As now, okay, so this is where it gets interesting for New York. You get Ruins that comes up next. Fled a very good Widowmaker. At least at the start, it looks like they're going to try and not go any Widowmaker of their own. Usually on this map, we have always seen a Widow countered by a Widow. Usually the fallback is to go to a dive with a Genji Tracer. This time they're going to start out with it.
I mean, and maybe the NYXL just don't really fancy trying to take Fletter on head-to-head at what we could even justifiably call his own game. Look at that, Arc gets a free haircut across the Mac early.
Jonak as well, so they're going to have to wait a little bit.
Inverse Mohawk, Matt. All the rage these days.
You put a ton of pressure, though, onto Libero and Mono. But to get in onto Flood, you see just a headshot there, and Zumba just takes him out. So you can just play a little bit slower here. Not the ideal start. So, when you give him this much space, he's just going to tear you apart.
Jonak there as well thinks twice about picking. Great peel. Jaehong finds Saviobi as he was trying to do with Fletter. Fletter's got so many lines of defense in between him and the enemy.
It's just insane.
He barely has to worry about a thing. He might be on one of those like chairs that people carry. You know what I mean? Just like they're just chairing him all around Ilios.
And what do you do here if you're New York? If you want to run Widow, does Saviobi switch off of Tracer, and then you don't have that great Tracer play, right? Where he's countering Munchkin on the ground. Or do you have Libero play Widow, who's probably not as good of a Widow as Saviobi, which doesn't really give you a great opportunity either way.
25% for Seoul here. They still haven't been able to get close enough to Fletter to really put any pressure on him so far. They can really only go for the point. That might be the opening they're looking for, though. Fletter's still at large, and he's found Arc, but it's really just him right now trying to plug the dam. He'll be out of the mix.
And that self-destruct from Meko is huge. He throws it up in the sky, but Toby is using Valkyrie, and he connects with him, and then Saviobi, who takes out Jaehong right away. may be a fight that ends up saving New York. Is now that they have control of the point, they can just kind of toy with Fleta a little bit, right? When he comes in, Sabiel B can come in from one way, put some shots, force him to grapple the other way,
Access him easier now.
Or you can just take out Arc on the point with a headshot.
Standard. Fleta, I guess his appearance heralded by an early kill. That's what we call a one clip. And Sabiel comes straight up from behind. A lot of those small shots being headshots are very, very easy to clean up. A stationary target, and that was exactly what NYXL needed of Sabiel.
And I would love for New York to just play aggressive, just get really close to that first initial choke, because that's when you can really put a lot of pressure on Fleta. Like, not let him get set up on top of any of these destroyed buildings, get some shots down on the point. They play a little bit further up, which it looks like they're doing. They're playing like at this initial point, and then once they decide and they know where Fleta is, that's when you see them start to go on. So you see Fleta in this position here. Let's see how they decide to attack this.
Bro, waiting. Tense times here, he's looking for Fleta. He's pretty much closed the gap, but now Fleta, yeah, Libero respects him. He knows he can go for a headshot in midair. And because Libero had to use that deflect on Fleta, the rest of the tanks were able to peel and deal with him pretty comfortably. Now it's a Genji missing for NYXL. This man on your screen needs to make the difference. The pulse bomb, it's not bad. It gets Zunbadisi and he's removed. That may have evened up the balance a little bit more. Fleta had the Orb of Discord on him there, and he tried to back away. It seems as if he's gotten to safety for the time being, but Sabiel is still free to roam, and New York still have control of this map. If they win this round, that's the series wrapped up.
And Miro uses Primal Rage. He's actually on Arc and Jonak, but Libero and Meko get back to the supports in time to keep him up. It's going to be Fleta with a shot, though, on Amano.
Fleta must go big here, Matt. He needs to pick these players off. That's two already. The rest of the NYXL now starting to realize they need to keep their heads down, but can they stay in control while staying away from Fleta? That's a big question. Jae-Hong's down, the Zenyatta's missing now. Seoul taking control of the point. They've got a couple players in for capture, and it does look like New York will leave it. Mano jumps in though. Why has he done this? Perhaps he was out of sync. I'm not sure if this was the play. He is actually there with Meko in all fairness. Actually getting kills. Fleta's down. This might be the opening now. Sound barrier here for Seoul.
Yeah, they're going to use their sound barrier. Jonak's coming off spawn here. Does have Transcendence. He's going to use it.
Transcendence.
So it's going to be a 4-on-4 on the point. Sabiel B with a pulse bomb. Gets Jae-Hong as well. Libero's coming off spawn here, Mitch. He's going to have a blade.
This might be it, man. I can feel
it.
Zunda being down. Libero there just looking for Munchkin mode. Now we're in overtime. And where is Seoul going to be coming from here? A desperate drop in from Toby, but he's taken down. It's burning. It is burning. Miro drops in, gets booped up in the air instantly, and now the Dragon Blade's available. It could be the cleanup they're looking for. Where's Miro? Gets himself a high ground position, bit of a vantage point, and it's a swift, clean kill. NYXL take the series 3-2. Once again, the victor in this epic matchup. 2 from 2. NYXL now get that first win and hand Seoul their first loss of the season. The stage.
Game 5. Sabiel B finishes 32 limbs, 12 final blows, 2 deaths. The guy is
2 deaths.
Too difficult for Seoul Dynasty to deal with.
This man,
his tracer play is unreal.
Ridiculous. Sabiel B there, and you just notice him blowing on his hands. He used to be a bowler. That's his way of obviously just trying to remove the sweat. And I'd be sweating if I was out here out there like him. That was incredible. All across the board there. Meko had a fantastic series himself. Mano coming back in, really giving them the bolster they needed. Between Jonak and Jae-Hong, it was an incredible struggle. Yet again, Jonak even top damaging on one of the maps there is Zenyatta, which is insane in and of itself. And there it is, 3-2.
I want to play more maps.
I want to see more
maps.
No, Jet, how about we just add an extra series on? Why not? We wait for the next game. Ladies and gentlemen, you just saw it here first. NYXL take the victory over Seoul in a rivalry that's really just beginning. Let's break things down after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.
was going to be good, but no one saw this one coming. Another 5-game series. Just when you think Seoul has it all locked up, New York XL comes rallying back. Welcome back, everybody. It's Buggy here at the desk. We got Sideshow, we've got Crumbs, and we got a lot of catching up to do. We knew this was a big match, but let's remind everybody the impact. As you take a look at the overall standings, it was #1 versus #2 here in the regular season. Now, New York was in that #1 spot, Seoul trying to tie their match record. That comeback from New York, building some space once again, and you know they got to be feeling good. Look at that map differential as well. New York in total control.
I mean, their momentum towards the later half of that series was insane. They were playing with so much confidence. I can't keep track of how many 5v6, 4v5s, and just man-down fights they took.
And now you can see the impact on stage 2. No longer do we have an undefeated team. New York and the Dynasty, both at 6-1. Gladiators and Spitfire, as well as the Valiant, chasing right behind them. This is coming down to the wire, just like it did in stage 1.
I'm getting deja vu, Puckett. This is exactly what happened in stage 1. 5-game match. Seoul were unbeaten. Then they started getting on a losing streak and missed out in the playoffs. Is it going to rock them this time?
I hope not. I want to see Seoul in the playoffs this time, and you have to remember they still face London later in the week. Let's talk about this series, though, boys, because at the half, it was 1-1. Kind of sloppy game #1 from Seoul. New York overpowered them. Then we saw Seoul come back, win the control map. Now we're going into game 3. It's Hollywood, and talking to you ahead of time, you said it has to be Genji. We need to see the strong Genji play from Fleta.
What I wanted was Fleta not to play the Soldier 76 and to play something different. And so on Hollywood, on the offense, I expected him to play the Genji, but on defense, you can play the Junkrat and get massive value out of that. So instead of playing like a soldier-oriented comp and trying to focus the tanks, they just went full peel, and they played it superbly.
Yeah, speaking of defense, what Seoul did on the 3rd point was just so great. I mean, they basically full-held New York here, and a lot of times New York, the half of their games really were playing Mercy. So when you have the Mercy right now, you're using that Valkyrie offensively to try to stack those ultimates and make sure that you go in. So this time around, the second the Valkyrie comes out, look at what happens. Mako gets demeched and blown right into the team. Without your Diva, your dive and any play no longer is going to happen. So the Valkyrie gets canceled out by the fact that it was a little bit of an ill timing from the Mercy, and then once again, Valkyrie comes out again, going for the Diva. This is what we knew Seoul was doing. They were focusing the Diva, and you could see how much it impacted the entire play, and that's what won them game 3, and we were thinking, oh, Seoul is 1 game up. He's gonna swear in that one.
It's the only way to really shut down Arc. The question I had there was, were you surprised by New York? We saw them running Widow as well as a Hanzo for the 2nd point. It didn't look like the normal New York attack we saw in game 3.
Well, I think that's because they had Janison instead of Mano. They were going for a more defensive-oriented composition, trying to put a Widowmaker in position, trying to put a Hanzo in position, relying on picks from Jonak or from their 2 snipers to be able to send them through instead of just going for the dive that we saw that worked so well over on Hanamura. So instead, this peel-oriented composition worked so well from Fleta. Fleta ran all over them, and then when it came to the overtime, the quad tank worked out to perfection. So just Fleta being on Junkrat here means that Saviobi can't get into the back. He was scared to go toe-to-toe with Fleta because 1 concussion mine and he's out of the fight. Then you have the big fight-winning Junkrat tires that we're demonstrating here that kept taking Libero out on Pharah. People think Pharah's a counter to Junkrat. The Junkrat tires were so good. And then when they went over, this was of course when they managed to stop them just on that 2nd point. And when they went over to attack, they played this triple tank with a Junkrat that just allowed them to roll over. They basically only needed to capture point A. They could walk straight in, and the hooks were hidden all over the place from Munchkin. It was great execution from Seoul.
Jake from the Houston Outlaws is an incredible Junkrat, but I don't think I've ever seen Farah shut down as well by that hero than we saw today from Fleta. Hollywood goes to Seoul. Now we're set up for game #4. You need just 1 more to lock up this series, and everything's looking great. You stop New York short of the 3rd point. Seoul on their attack can't get the job done. Talk me through this series. How did how did New York keep themselves in this and force a game 5?
Well, it wasn't looking too good, right? For the 1st point, they were kind of getting steamrolled a little bit too fast. You see that New York, well, we're going to start off with just some general highlights of this one, but what happened was that New York got a little bit stopped in the first half, and by the time they reached the third point, they were unable to have too much time. But on the Seoul part, when they were attacking, what ended up happening was that Sabiobi, even though his statistics were not as impressive as what Munchkin was doing, he was putting so much pressure onto the backline of Seoul just by threatening. His positioning in the high ground kept Seoul distracted, chewing away at the time that eventually they were just able to seal the deal by not having enough time to push.
So Sabiobi is a ridiculous big game player. He comes out at the clutch moments when his team needs him. He's unbelievable in those situations. He's so consistent all the time, but as soon as it gets to the end of the game or an overtime or he knows that he needs to make a big play, the guy just pulls his S-tier level gameplay out when he's normally on an A.
150% in overtime. Sabiobi was not the only one. The whole squad held very strong. And if you go back and watch that game, it's just confusing to see how did Seoul not complete this because they had so much momentum. It was 2 Dragon Blades from Libero that Ryu Jae-hong is shutting down. Everything looked like it was going to be Seoul's. No, it's New York. Now we're going to a game 5. You look back at the previous control, it was Seoul who took that. You think coming into Ilios, is this going to be Seoul's game? We see Fleta on a Farah before the first round starts. You said this is over, Sideshow.
It should have been over. This is Fleta's. Fleta is the superstar of Seoul Dynasty. Plus, he's on his best map. He can play the Farah. He can play the Widowmaker. He should have taken control of this game and slammed NYXL.
But Sabiobi's Tracer is a superstar on its own that is not affected by counter pick, counterplay, or anything else. And you're going to see here that New York, they're trying to dive Jae-hong again, right? You've got the Winston, the Tracer, the Diva. They try to go for it, and it fails. 5v6, and guess what? They're not done. They want to take the 5v6. They don't care that they just lost to Winston. They're going to overcommit the trans, the pulse bomb on this 5v6 without the main tank, the attack visor, and they still come out ahead on this fight. The fact that they're able to just use their ultimates here to stall out the point even longer bought more time than they would have ever hoped. About 50 ticks from this point, which is what set them up to take this first point and get the momentum.
Can we talk a little bit about why Fleta wasn't on Farah at that point during the highlight? Why was he forced off of that? Why did he go back to the Soldier 76 so early for Seoul?
Well, that was mad mind games actually at the beginning of Well, because Fleta came out on the Farah, but without a Mercy, because he's expecting Libero to play the Farah Mercy into him as well, and Fleta's just like, I don't need a Mercy, I can shut this guy down just with a Harmony Orb. But actually, Libero comes out in the Soldier 76, so the mind games between the two teams, they realized that Fleta was going to be on Farah, they pull out the Soldier, and then the long-range hit scan, he's forced to make the switch. So he wasn't able to play the carry heroes that he can.
All right, so New York strikes first. They take the Well. Now we're going into the second heat of Game 5. Seoul set up in power positions. You got Fleta tearing faces with the sniper to open things up. Instead, New York comes back. As we take a look at some of the best moments from this Game 5 here, fellas, what was the biggest difference you saw across these 10 minutes?
SBB, 3 letters for you right there. I mean, this guy was going for flanks all over, and while Seoul had some decent plays and they were able to capture the point a lot of the time, it just did not pan out for them because Seoul had, or New York had so much confidence. It was outrageous. Like, you have a fight that started with Fleta sniping out Arc, Toby, the Lucio, where you think the fight's over, you back off, you try to stall, chew away a little bit of time. No, they say we're going to take the fight right now, 5v6 again, and they win it. It's just their positioning. When you're positioned so well, it means that no matter what the number advantage is, you're going to most likely have an advantage to kill as many opponents that come by. That's why before, when it was the Mercy meta, if your Mercy is using Valkyrie out of position, it doesn't matter how many people you res. If the position is bad, you're going to lose the fight.
Playoffs are next weekend, boys. If these two match up once again, who do you give the edge to after seeing another 5-game series?
I think I would give the edge in a rematch potentially to the Seoul Dynasty. Because here's the thing, if they were able to pull out strategies like they did on Hollywood, I think they came into this game with a bit of a wrong game plan. When they looked at Hanamura and they're trying to focus down the tanks, I think that's not the way that you approach NYXL. And then when they go into Hollywood and they have a plan set up that counters NYXL, they wiped the floor with them. It wasn't even close. Yes, they lost the end control that they probably should have won, but over the course of a series, I might give it to NYXL.
Drums, you got your Oscar the Grouch.
We used track record to tell that New York was going to win. The fact that they were able to take down Seoul, you look at strength of schedule, how difficult things have been for Seoul when it comes to not facing top teams in stage 2. So using that, we were able to tell that this game was going to go 3-2 from New York. So once again, I'm going with New York for taking this, and I don't think it's stopping anywhere.
Well, Seoul, we know they're going to be a bit more distracted for their final 3 matches. They still have to play London later in the week. For this match, though, we're about done. There's one more thing to do, and that is crown our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Who is it? We were thinking Libero until Game 5, and we had to give it to Sabi Olby. Ridiculous. 2 deaths, all of Ilios. The man was putting up amazing numbers.
Unbelievable clutch player and so consistent throughout the entire series. Libero, yes, had an amazing Game 1, but dropped off in the middle. Sabi Olby just continued just to slam people the entire time, and then goes on fire to win the series in the last 2 games. That's a beast of a player.
Do it for her.
I think you have to say at this point, he is the best tracer in the league right now. In terms of the impact he has on games, Sabi Olby is the man.
And in terms of putting down any other tracer that rises to the challenge, Munchkin's supposed to be practicing on this team to become the tracer that can handle him. No, not happening.
Sit back down.
His wife back home is smiling somewhere. Big shout out to Sabi Olby. He is our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Whew. I feel like we all need a nap after that series. But guys, pop some caffeine instead. When we come back, we got a 3rd matchup for you. It's Philly versus Shanghai. We're closing this one out with a good one after this.